Chapter 465. Yes, Master. Qinzheng already knows that you have returned. This time, he gathered all the branch families at the virtuous garden. The ink Qilin said very honestly. It's enough that second brother knows that I have returned. In a bit, I will go and meet with second brother. Right now, I will go and see how the descendants of the Qin family are doing. Qin Yu said calmly. Yes, Master. The ink Qilin responded. Then, Qin Yu calmly walked through the gate of the virtuous garden. With Qin Yu's understanding of space, how could those guards, who were not even at the upper sky realm, see Qin Yu? Walking along the familiar corridor, Qin Yu walked step by step. This is where Big Brother used to live. Qin Yu looked at a courtyard. However, after 4,000 years, this place has been renovated many times. Qin Yu could feel the renovation of the bricks and tiles. This place has become a forbidden area. Outsiders are forbidden from entering. Qin Yu could not help but smile. He walked through the entire virtuous garden, which was the mansion of the East vanquishing prince. Qin Yu discovered that the residence of him, Qin Feng, and his father were all guarded by guards. Outsiders were not allowed to enter at all. Second brother's training speed is indeed slow. Qin Yu's divine sense clearly observed his second brother's current strength, middle stage Kongming. 4,000 years to reach middle stage Kongming. This kind of training speed would indeed make one speechless. After returning to his own home, Qin Yu's heart was very calm. In the past, the courtyards where his guests lived were now filled with people from the branch families of the Qin family. In the Tang dynasty, all of these people stood at the peak. However, in the headquarters of the Qin family, each and every one of them was very humble. It was because these people from the branch families all understood that their status was related to the help of the direct Qin family. And the true strength of the Qin family was so terrifying. He walked to the door of a courtyard. Father, will we not see little brother in the future? A familiar voice sounded. It's that Qin Yu Tong. Qin Yu moved his feet and stepped into this courtyard. At this moment, Qin Yu Tong was talking to her father. Yu Tong, don't think too much about it. This is the order of the sole supreme second elder of the Qin clan. Not only our branch clan, the other branch clans have also sent their elite disciples. Qin Yu Tong's father Qin Fulan said with a helpless sigh. Qin Yu was slightly taken aback. The only remaining supreme second elder? Got it. Qin Yu Tong looked helpless. She then looked at her father and asked, Father, have you seen second supreme elder? I've seen him once. You should also know the identity of the second supreme elder. He was the true first emperor of our Qin dynasty back then. Qin Fulan sighed. Qin Yu Tong couldn't help but reveal a trace of admiration in her eyes as she said, Of course I know of the second supreme elder. Not only him, there is also the first supreme elder. Back then, he led our Qin dynasty's army and swept through the 6 directions. Who would dare to stop him? Moreover, the most powerful one is still the third supreme elder. I heard that the third supreme elder's strength is exceedingly high. He is the first person of our Qin clan to ascend to the immortal world. Not only that, the third supreme elder's strength is even more terrifying than you think. Even some of the powers in the chaotic astral ocean are taking care of the Qin clan because of the third supreme elder. Qin Fulan sighed. I grew up listening to the third supreme elder's deeds. Alas, that is a true genius. Didn't I also grow up listening to the third supreme elder's deeds? The first person in the hidden dragon continent to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques. In a short 20 years, he stepped into the Xiantian realm. I really don't dare to believe it. How much hardship did he have to go through to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques? Now those young masters of the martial arts world are showing off in front of me. Each one of them is relying on good fortune and thinks they are amazing. Compared to the third supreme elder, those people are really... Qin Yu Tong's eyes were filled with disdain. Qin Yu, who had been listening for a while, couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that the third supreme elder was referring to him. Unfortunately, it's too difficult to reach the Xiantian realm by relying on external techniques. It is said that in every generation, the Qin clan would select 10 outstanding disciples to cultivate external techniques. However, In the past 4,000 years, almost everyone was unable to take another step after cultivating to the peak of external techniques. There was only one person who succeeded, and that was your Uncle Qin Shirtian. However, I heard that the technique that the third Supreme Elder cultivates is extremely powerful. Qin Fulan said. Uncle Qin Shirtian, I know him. All the disciples of our Qin clan worship him. He is the only successor of the third Supreme Elder in so many years. Qin Yutong sighed. Hearing this, Qin Yu was startled. The stellar transformations technique had a successor? Qin Yu's divine sense immediately covered the entire virtuous garden. At that time, Qin Yu had only spread out his divine sense to search for his second brother. He didn't carefully observe others. And this time, Qin Yu easily found the person who cultivated the stellar transformations technique. Early nebula stage. To be able to reach this realm in nearly 40 years is already not bad. Qin Yu immediately discovered the person called Qin Shirtian. Yutong, when are you going to get married? Father can't wait. To be honest, among those disciples who are pursuing you, there are some pretty good ones. Qin Fulan said with a smile. Qin Yutong couldn't help but shake her head. Not for now. I don't hope for my future husband to have the perseverance or talent of the third Supreme Elder. I only hope for 1/10 of the third Supreme Elder. Those noble young masters. Qin Yu couldn't help but be startled. Then he laughed. Interesting. Who are you? Qin Yutong was surprised to discover a black-clothed youth standing nearby. Qin Fulan also turned around and saw the black-clothed youth. Immediately he said modestly, You are also a disciple of our Qin clan, right? Qin Fulan knew that even a self-cultivator couldn't recklessly barge into the virtuous garden of the Qin clan. This was because the virtuous garden had a clan protector divine beast. Almost everyone in the Qin clan had heard about the clan protector divine beast. Yes, I am a member of the Qin clan. Qin Yu nodded with a smile. His gaze turned towards Qin Yutong. Little lass, sometimes there is no need to have high expectations for your husband. It's fine as long as he is suitable. Little lass, Qin Yutong couldn't help but widen her eyes. How much older are you than me? I'm much older than you, Qin Yu said with a faint smile. At this moment, Qin Fulan's heart was beating like a drum. He could sense Qin Yu's unique aura. It was an aura that had fused with the heavens and earth. Even though he had only seen the second Supreme Elder once, he could sense that the second Supreme Elder was inferior to the person in front of him. He might be a loose immortal expert of our Qin clan. Qin Fulan thought to himself. In the past 4,000 years, the Qin clan had some loose immortal experts. And at this moment, another person walked into the courtyard. Qin Fulan. The person said calmly, Lord Emissary. Qin Fulan immediately bowed when he saw the person. Even Qin Yutong bowed. The Qin clan had clan protector emissaries. These clan protector emissaries were divided into 3 ranks. The golden-clothed clan protector emissaries were the lowest, the blue-clothed clan protector emissaries were slightly higher, and the black-clothed clan protector emissaries were the highest. Even the lowest golden-clothed clan protector emissaries were at least at the Yuanying stage. The Patriarch has ordered that in 2 hours, everyone is to attend the banquet at Fengwan Hall. The golden-clothed emissary said. Then he turned and left. It was as though he hadn't seen Qin Yu at all. After the emissary left, Qin Fulan and Qin Yutong stood up. Why did the Lord Emissary not see us just now? Qin Yutong looked at Qin Yu in confusion. If Qin Yu's status was high, the golden-clothed emissary would at least bow. If Qin Yu's status was low, Qin Yu would at least bow to the golden-clothed emissary. However, the golden-clothed emissary didn't even look at Qin Yu from beginning to end. This was very puzzling. Qin Yu walked to a nearby stone bench and sat down. He said, If I want him to see me, he will see me. If I don't want him to see me, he won't see me. Then, Qin Yu flipped his hand and took out a flagon of wine. He drank a mouthful. Yes, the wine in Yin capital is still the best. Qin Yutong and Qin Fulan looked at each other. They were speechless. Standing in front of others, he could let them see him if he wanted them to see him, and not let them see him if he didn't want them to see him. Was there such a divine ability? They had never heard of it. Qin Yu, on the other hand, was happily drinking wine in the courtyard. 2 hours later, within Fengwan Hall. At this moment, a large number of people from the various branch families of the Qin clan were gathered in Fengwan Hall. These people filled dozens of tables. One could imagine how many people there were. However, at this moment, no one touched their chopsticks. This was because the patriarch hadn't arrived yet. Qin Yu was also sitting at a table in Fengwan Hall. The Qin clan only checked the invitations at the door. After that, they didn't check at all. This was because everyone knew that in the Hidden Dragon continent, no one dared to cause trouble for the Qin clan. Because some branch families only sent one person, some sent two, and some sent 3 people, there were still many banquets prepared. Qin Yu was among them. Outsiders thought that Qin Yu was also someone from the branch family. The patriarch has arrived, a golden-clothed envoy said at the front of Fengwan Hall. Instantly, everyone stood up, followed by 4 blue-clothed envoys. The current patriarch of the Qin clan walked in from the back hall. This patriarch's eyes were filled with calmness. Qin Yu secretly nodded. The patriarch's strength wasn't strong. He was only in the middle stage of yuanying. Everyone, today is a joyous day. The patriarch's first words stunned all the branch family members. This was because everyone remembered that not long ago, the second supreme elder had personally ordered all the branch families to send their elite disciples to the virtuous garden. He had ordered those elite disciples to hide in various places and preserve the Qin clan's descendants. At the same time, he also announced that the Qin clan was facing a huge crisis and all the branch families must be vigilant. However, in the blink of an eye, the patriarch had actually announced a joyous day. Although they were shocked, the people below still didn't make any noise. Everyone, please rest assured. The second supreme elder personally ordered that the elite disciples of the branch families will be sent back to your respective clans. As for the second supreme elder, he will arrive at Fengwan Hall immediately. The patriarch said loudly. No matter how calm they were, at this moment, the people below began to clamor. The second supreme elder will arrive immediately? I didn't hear wrong, right? Really? The second supreme elder is coming? Even Qin Fulan had only seen the second supreme elder once in his entire life. This was also because Qin Fulan was the leader of the Qin clan's branch family. However, there were less than 10 people in the hall who had seen the second supreme elder. Silence. A voice sounded from the side entrance of Fengwan Hall. A black-clothed envoy walked in. Instantly, everyone quieted down. According to legend, the Qin clan's protector envoys were divided into 3 levels: gold, blue, and black. The black-clothed envoys were of the highest level. Even the weakest of them had reached the Kongming stage. The strong ones had even reached the Dujia stage. The 3 black-clothed envoys in the front opened the way. A scholarly youth wearing a light yellow robe walked in. Second Supreme Elder. The patriarch bowed respectfully. The patriarch of the Qin clan changed every 100 years. However, the positions of the 3 supreme elders were permanent. Among the 3 supreme elders, any one of them had far more power than the patriarch. Second supreme elder. Only then did the people below come to their senses, and all of them bowed respectfully. Only one person didn't bow. That person was Qin Yu. Second brother. Qin Yu only nodded slightly. When Qin Zheng saw Qin Yu, surprise burst out from his eyes. Only Qin Zheng was also an emperor in the past. He had controlled the Qin clan for 4,000 years. In the blink of an eye, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and nodded to Qin Yu. When the protector envoys next to him saw Qin Yu not bowing, they immediately wanted to shout angrily. Don't be impulsive. Qin Zheng's spiritual sense sounded in their minds. When all the people from the branch family stood up, Qin Zheng said with a light smile. Everyone, a while ago, my Qin family was facing a crisis. However, now that the crisis has passed, I am dispatching those elite disciples. I believe that within a month, they will return to their homes. Everyone can rest assured. Hearing the words of the second supreme elder, all the people from the branch families let out a long sigh of relief. A few days ago, the so-called crisis had frightened all the clans. Everyone, please enjoy the banquet. After Qin Zheng finished speaking, he walked down the stairs. When those people saw Qin Zheng walking down, They were so excited that they didn't know what to say. Qin Zheng only nodded and smiled. Then he walked to the front of Qin Yu's table and looked at Qin Yu. Second brother, you have indeed done a good job. Now the Qin clan has more than 10,000 disciples. Qin Yu stood up. To be exact, the Qin clan has more than 80,000 people. Qin Zheng also said. Qin Yu walked to the front of Qin Zheng. Second brother. Third brother. Qin Zheng also looked directly at Qin Yu. Qin Yu Tong, who was sitting at the same table as Qin Yu, heard the conversation between the two, and was somewhat stupefied. Everyone, I hope you won't spread what you heard today. Qin Zheng glanced at the people in Fengwan Hall. Then, the two brothers Qin Yu and Qin Zheng left Fengwan Hall side by side. Father, did I hear it wrong? Qin Yu Tong looked at her father. Qin Fulan's eyes were also filled with disbelief. If I didn't hear it wrong, that person was the legendary Third Supreme Elder. He the Third Supreme Elder? Qin Yu Tong suddenly remembered that she had once told Qin Yu about her husband's condition in front of him. She couldn't help but blush. And the leaders of the branch families in Fengwan Hall were all excited. The Third Supreme Elder had actually returned? What kind of crisis could there be? The group of people were extremely excited. Everyone felt at ease. To make all the clansmen feel at ease. This was the reason why Qin Yu called Qin Zheng second brother in front of everyone. With his strength, there was simply no need for him to hide. Chapter 466. In the secluded courtyard, there was a simple stone table with 6 or 7 dishes, and 2 jugs of wine. The two brothers Qin Yu and Qin Zheng sat down and chatted. Little Yu, it's fortunate that you came back this time. Otherwise, our Qin family would have suffered great losses. Qin Zheng had a slight smile on his face, and his heart was a lot more relaxed. Ever since the ink Qilin told Qin Zheng about Qin Yu's return, Qin Zheng was completely relieved. Second brother, what happened? Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng said with a smile. Ever since you left, our Qin family slowly grew stronger. Moreover, the Devil Peng Island of the chaotic astral ocean also took good care of us. This allowed our Qin family to develop very steadily. However, several decades ago, the master of the Devil Peng Island, Lian Chong, ascended. Lian Chong. Qin Yu recalled the scene when he saved Lian Chong from the 8th loose immortal tribulation. That's right. Ever since Zhongju ascended, Lian Chong's mother became the new master of the Devil Peng Island. After Lian Chong's mother ascended, Lian Chong's father became the new master. With the support of his parents and his strength, Lian Chong became the new master of the Devil Peng Island after his father. Qin Zheng said with a smile. Lian Chong remembers your kindness, and usually cares about our Qin family. This allowed our Qin family to be very stable, and without any danger. Qin Yu nodded. If there's a chance, we must thank Lian Chong, Qin Yu said with a smile. However, ever since Lian Chong ascended to the Devil Realm, our Qin family has been in trouble. Qin Zheng said helplessly. What kind of trouble? Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng said helplessly. Do you still remember that before you ascended to the immortal, devil and demon realm, you left some immortal weapons in the Qin family? You even set a set of top-grade immortal weapons as the Qin family's inheritance treasure? Yes, I know. Back then, I took so many immortal weapons from Inai Yang's realm. Leaving them at home is something I should do. Qin Yu remembered clearly. Back then, when Qin Yu returned from the Yellowstone Star, he stayed at home for a period of time and made arrangements for the Qin family. The set of supreme-grade immortal artifacts consisted of supreme-grade immortal armor and supreme-grade immortal sword. We know the principle of not showing off our wealth. We also didn't tell anyone about the set of supreme-grade immortal artifacts. Only Lian Chong, whom we owe a debt of gratitude to, knows. Who would have thought that Lian Chong might have told some experts of the Devil Peng Island? The current new Devil Peng Island's island master has already started to covet our set of finest grade immortal artifacts. Qin Zheng said helplessly. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with killing intent. If there was a threat to his clansmen, especially if there was a threat of extinction, it was better to deal with it as soon as possible. However, Lian Chong's family of 3 is the island master of the Devil Peng Island. Lian Chang's influence on the Devil Peng Island is still very great. That new island master of the Devil Peng Island wouldn't dare to directly attack. He's worried that some elders of the Devil Peng Island would oppose him. Qin Zheng said with a smile. Qin, you could guess. For a major power like the Devil Peng Island, if one didn't have unparalleled power like Zhongju, then an ordinary person would definitely have to consider some of the elders and experts of the Devil Peng Island. The 3 members of the Lian family were all island masters. Before Lian Chong ascended, he had also entrusted some elders to them. Therefore, the new island master naturally wouldn't dare to openly threaten them. Therefore, that new island master told this information to a certain person. The current ruler of the wilderness is a 12th tribulation loose demon named Xiaoku. His power is extremely great. Qin Zheng said solemnly. Qin Yu smiled calmly. A 12th tribulation loose demon is a level 9 sky demon. Only in the mortal realm would they dare to proclaim themselves as hegemons. In front of the current Qin Yu, even if 10,000 of such level 9 sky demons were to come, he would probably be able to destroy them with a wave of his hand. After all, they weren't on the same level. A 12th tribulation loose demon. In the past, the ruler of the wilderness, Yu Liang, also wanted to seize our Qin clan's immortal artifacts and died. Could it be that this new ruler of the wilderness didn't learn his lesson? Qin Yu said coldly. Qin Zheng shook his head and said, it's very normal. That 12th tribulation loose demon is a high-level divine beast. In the chaotic astral ocean or the dragon clan, there isn't a single super divine beast. In this world, there really isn't anyone who can defeat the new ruler of the wilderness. When the tiger is not in the mountain, the monkey becomes king. Qin Yu said with a smile. He remembered that in the past, before he had ascended 5-clawed golden dragon Fang Tian, golden-winged great Peng Zhongju, and a few other emissaries of the upper realm, had descended to the mortal realm. These experts had fought together to seize the treasures of Enai Yang's realm. At that time, even someone like Yu Liang was just a small fry. Back then, he was only at the Deshang stage, and had already fought with those people. Now, with his power comparable to a deity's, he had let his family be humiliated by these nobodies. Qin Yu couldn't help but spread out his divine sense, covering the entire purple mystic star. What did the 2 of them say? Qin Yu looked at his second brother. Qin Zheng said, at first they were just threatening me. I didn't pay any attention to them. Not long ago, the 2 of them sent a message to me, telling me to hand over the set of top-quality immortal equipment within a year. Otherwise, they wouldn't care about face and directly attack me. It seems that they also have concerns. Qin Yu said with a smile. Qin Zheng nodded and said, of course they have concerns. The new ruler of the Devil Peng Island, and the new ruler of the wilderness, are worried about revenge in the immortal, devil and demon realm. After all, Zhongju and Lian Chang's family are definitely stronger than them in the devil realm. If the 2 of them attack, they will definitely kill everyone in my Qin family. Qin Yu sneered and said, they will definitely cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Qin Yu was able to understand the thoughts of the 2 of them. After all, the immortal devil and demon realm was boundless. In the eyes of these 2, even if the Qin family in the immortal devil and demon realm knew about this, it would be impossible to find them in the boundless immortal, devil and demon realm. This was the reason why the 2 of them dared to do this. They didn't expect that little Yu would be able to return to the mortal realm. Qin Zheng said with a smile. Ever since he knew that Qin Yu had returned, Qin Zheng had been very happy. Okay, let's not talk about these 2 anymore. Disappointing. Qin Yu shook his head and said. Then he said, second brother, when did big brother and father ascend to the immortal devil and demon realm? Is there a way to contact them? Qin Zheng shook his head. In the past 4,000 years, there have been more than 10 people from our Qin family that have ascended to the immortal devil and demon realm. Big brother was the first to ascend. Father and Uncle Feng were relatively late. However, they both succeeded in ascending. I see that our Qin family has a lot of loose immortals. What's going on? Qin Yu asked in confusion. With the immortal artifacts that the Qin family has, ascending shouldn't be difficult. This is my rule. Only a few people are qualified to bring immortal artifacts into the immortal realm. Ordinary people must rely on their own strength. Even if they fail and become loose immortals, they can still increase the strength of our Qin family in the mortal realm. Qin Zheng said as he ate. That's good too. However, it will be difficult for me to find my father and big brother. Qin Yu frowned. In the boundless immortal realm, finding his father was indeed a difficult matter. After all, with the current range of his divine sense, searching the entire immortal realm was not an easy matter. The entire immortal realm has close to 20 star fields and hundreds of galaxies. Second brother, is there anyone you know that wants to ascend to the immortal realm? Qin Yu suddenly asked. Because Qin Yu knows that if one ascends to the immortal realm from the same planet, they will ascend to the same place. If one ascends to the devil realm, they will also ascend to the same place. Qin Yu believes that with his father's strength, he should still be on the planet that he ascended to. Even if he left, he shouldn't be far away. Ascend? Qin Zheng muttered. Suddenly Qin Zheng's eyes lit up. Our Qin family has someone who has reached the middle Dujia stage. I estimate that he will soon undergo tribulation. Qin Yu shook his head. Too slow. Reaching the middle Dujia stage, he still needs to undergo tribulation. Only when he reaches the Deshang stage can he ascend. This is too slow. Are there any Deshang stage experts? Qin Zheng said helplessly. Our Qin family's history is too short. We also do not have many experts. It is true that we do not have any Deshang stage experts. I think only the Tunglong continent has someone that fits your requirements. Tunglong continent? Qin Yu suddenly smiled. I am truly foolish. The Tunglong continent has sects that can directly contact the immortal realm. They definitely know which planet one will ascend to. Wouldn't it be fine if I just go and ask? Qin Yu relaxed. That's good. Come little Yu, let's drink. Qin Zheng raised his cup. Qin Yu also raised his cup with a smile. The two brothers clinked their cups and drank it all in one gulp. The next day, in the boundless Great Wasteland to the east of the hidden Dragon continent, the new ruler of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, was currently in the rear hall. He was lying on a chair and enjoying the massage of a beautiful demon fox. You are Xiao Ku, right? A voice suddenly sounded. Xiao Ku, who was originally dozing off and enjoying the massage, suddenly opened his eyes. Only at this moment did he see that there was a person standing in the center of the rear hall. For some unknown reason, he was unable to clearly see the appearance of this person. Even the light rays that approached that person seemed to be devoured. Who are you? Xiao Ku's expression changed. Didn't you want the top-quality immortal artifact of the Qin clan? If I give you a divine artifact, do you want it? That person said. Xiao Ku involuntarily gulped twice. He looked at the two demon fox maids beside him. These two maids seemed to have been fixed in place and were unable to move. You two demon foxes, listen up. Tell the remaining people of the Great Wasteland that I have taken away your new ruler, Xiao Ku. The previous ruler, Yu Liang, coveted our Qin clan's top-quality immortal artifact and ended up dying. Never would I have expected that you, Xiao Ku, would also dare to do such a thing. I presume that you are prepared to meet the same end as Yu Liang. Qin Yu said indifferently. Only at this moment did Xiao Ku realize who this person was. No, I didn't. Xiao Ku said in alarm. However, he had only said a few words when he discovered that he was unable to make any sound. Did the two of you hear that clearly? Tell the Great Wasteland to prepare to choose a new ruler. If they wish to follow in the footsteps of the previous two rulers, feel free to go to the Qin clan and seize the immortal artifact. I will welcome them at any time. After Qin Yu finished speaking, his body instantly disappeared. Xiao Ku also disappeared along with Qin Yu. Only after Qin Yu disappeared did the two demon fox maids regain their ability to move. At this moment, the two of them couldn't help but shout in alarm. Immediately, 3 11th Tribulation loose demons charged in. Where is Lord Ruler? One of the giant demons shouted. The two demon fox maids' faces turned deathly pale. One of them stammered. He was captured. He said that you, my lord, should choose a new ruler. The faces of these giant demons, whose status in the Great Wasteland was second only to Xiao Ku, all changed. That person also said, if If you milords wish to follow in the footsteps of the previous two rulers, feel free to go to the Qin clan and seize the immortal artifact. The demon fox mate stammered. The three giant demons looked at each other. The Qin clan of the Hidden Dragon continent has such an expert? The three giant demons all fell silent. To be able to capture a 12th tribulation high-level divine beast, without batting an eyelid, this sort of power had already caused them to feel fear. It wasn't just the Great Wasteland. The same thing happened on the Devil Pung Island. Only compared to the Great Wasteland, the situation on the Devil Pung Island was even greater. This was because at that time, the new island master of the Devil Pung Island was in the middle of a meeting with the 6 elders of the Devil Pung Island, as well as some important upper echelon members. But during the meeting, Qin Yu appeared. In the instant that Qin Yu appeared, everyone on the Devil Pung Island discovered to their horror that they were unable to move. Lian Chong is my good friend. I'll give him face. This time, it was merely your new island master's idea. I'll only take him with me. All right, everyone, let's continue the meeting and choose another island master. And just like that, Qin Yu teleported away with the new island master of the Devil Pung Island. Those 11th tribulation and even 12th tribulation experts of the Devil Pung Island all discovered to their astonishment that they couldn't even see Qin Yu's appearance clearly. In front of Qin Yu, they were as helpless as ants. Both the Devil Pung Island and the Great Wasteland had chosen a new island master and controller. At the same time, everyone would remember this day. Who was this supreme expert who had suddenly appeared? This caused everyone to feel fear. Flame Capital City, the Virtue Garden. Second brother, how should we deal with these two? Go ahead. Qin Yu and Qin Zheng were seated on chairs. As for the controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Pung Island, Lan Tai, they were unable to move at all. Qin Zheng sized up the two of them. The controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Pung Island, Lan Tai, were both filled with terror. Qin Yu was simply too powerful. In front of Qin Yu, the two of them couldn't even die. They weren't on the same level at all. Controller of the Great Wasteland, Xiao Ku, what is your true form? Qin Zheng suddenly asked. I heard that the new island master of the Devil Pung Island is a monster as well. One of them is a leopard and the other is a bird, said Qin Yu with a smile. Qin Zheng looked to Qin Yu. Third brother, don't you think that it's too easy to kill them like this? Do you have any spirit beast collars? I feel that our Qin clan's defensive power is insufficient. Spirit beast collars? I've used them all. However, this sort of simple artifact is extremely common in the immortal, devil and demon realm. The great demon emperors of the 10,000 beasts atlas all know how to refine them. Qin Yu turned his gaze to Xiao Ku and Lan Tai. The two of you, do you want to die or become spirit beasts? Chapter 468. The controller of the wilderness, Xiao Ku, and the island master of the Devil Pung Island, Lan Tai, felt bitter in their hearts. Become spirit beasts. The two leaders of the wilderness and the Devil Pung Island were now forced to become spirit beasts under the control of others. Was life more important, or was freedom more important? Of course, becoming spirit beasts didn't necessarily mean that they would lose their freedom, but they would lose their self-respect. Have you finished thinking? You can choose death. Qin Yu picked up his teacup and took a small sip. Against his enemies, Qin Yu would never be merciful and lenient. That was because he knew that once he was merciful and lenient, these people wouldn't be ungrateful. Instead, they would hide their hatred in their hearts. After so many years of fighting, Qin Yu knew long ago when it was time to be ruthless. I agree, Lan Tai said through gritted teeth. Only, the muscles on Lan Tai's face were trembling. One could imagine the rage in his heart. Xiao Ku glanced at the nearby Lan Tai, then looked at Qin Yu. If I am to become a spirit beast, I am only willing to become your spirit beast. I don't need it. Qin Yu stood up. The number of spirit beasts I have far exceeds your imagination. Forget about you. Even if the monster emperor wanted to become my spirit beast, I wouldn't mind. Qin Yu had a hint of calmness on his face. Xiao Ku and Lan Tai were shocked. He didn't even care about monster emperors? What level of power did this person have? How could there be such an expert in the mortal realm? Xiaoku, I don't have time to waste with you. Qin Yu frowned slightly. Qin Zheng glanced at his third brother, then nodded to himself. In this world, when dealing with some people, one should be merciful. But when dealing with others, one shouldn't. Only by understanding this would one be able to survive. I agree. Xiaoku squeezed out one word after another from his teeth. Qin Yu and Qin Zheng glanced at each other, a hint of a smile on their faces. Qin Yu asked a few questions. He learned that in the Atlas of 10,000 Beasts, there was a monster king named Jun Xiao, who was skilled in artifact forging. He was also extremely skilled in spirit beast collars. Qin Yu thus ordered this monster king to forge spirit beast collars. Second brother, you order 2 people to lock up these 2 people first. Qin Yu said to Qin Zheng. Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu. Xiao Yu, if they want to escape then, rest assured their martial powers have been completely sealed by me. Even in the immortal devil and demon realm, there are not many people who are capable of breaking the seal, said Qin Yu with a smile on his face. However, his tone was filled with confidence. Qin Zheng nodded and ordered the 2 golden-robed envoys. Second Supreme Elder. The 2 gold-robed envoys greeted respectfully. Qin Zheng nodded. After that, he glanced at Qin Yu. He is my 3rd younger brother, and is also the 3rd elder of the Supremacy faction. The 2 gold-robed envoys had long heard about the appearance of the 3rd Supreme Elder from their good friends. Now that they heard it from Qin Yu himself, the 2 of them couldn't help but look at him in surprise. After all, they had grown up listening to Qin Yu's stories. Seeing their idol, the 2 of them were also excited. Second brother, are these all our Qin clan's disciples? Qin Yu asked. Qin Zheng nodded with a smile on his face. These are all our Qin clan's elite disciples with pretty good martial powers. However, cultivation is truly hard. Our Qin clan has over 80,000 disciples, but the number of disciples who have successfully cultivated is still too few. For some of the side branches, there would only be a single disciple who could cultivate in every generation. At this moment, the 2 golden-robed envoys were talking to each other through spiritual awareness voice transmission. Fourth brother, this is the 3rd Supreme Elder? That's right, the 2nd Supreme Elder said it himself earlier. Never would I have expected that the 3rd Supreme Elder would look so young. His appearance is also very similar to the 2nd Supreme Elder. No wonder they're brothers. Go back and tell the eldest brother and the others that we've seen the 3rd Supreme Elder with our own eyes. They'll definitely be extremely envious. Suddenly, Qin Zheng's voice sounded. Why aren't the 2 of you greeting the 3rd Supreme Elder? The 2 golden-robed envoys who were pleasantly surprised to see their idol woke up. The 2 of them hurriedly said, we pay our respects to the 3rd Supreme Elder. Qin Yu nodded with a smile on his face. Amen, continue to work hard. Immediately, the 2 golden-robed envoys became excited. The legendary 3rd Supreme Elder was actually talking to them. Qin Yu then looked at Lan Tai and Xiaoku. The 2 of you stay safe for the next few days. Don't even think about escaping. My power is sealed within your bodies. No matter where you run to, I'll be able to find you. Furthermore, killing you is a very simple matter. Qin Yu said calmly. Xiaoku and Lan Tai smiled bitterly in their hearts. After witnessing Qin Yu's strength, how could they possibly dare to escape? At this moment, Qin Zheng instructed the 2 golden-robed envoys. The 2 of you watch over them carefully. Don't make any mistakes. Yes, 2nd Supreme Elder. The 2 golden-robed envoys acknowledged the order. In front of Qin Yu, the 2 of them even raised their voices somewhat. After the 2 golden-robed envoys escorted Xiaoku and Lan Tai away. Second brother, I've heard that my stellar transformations technique already has a successor? His name is Qin Shitian? Qin Yu suddenly said. With regards to this Qin Shitian, Qin Yu was somewhat expectant. After all, this Qin Shitian could be considered as the sole successor of his stellar transformations technique. Haha, little you already know about it. Good. I'll order him to come over. Qin Zheng immediately spread out his spiritual awareness and sent a voice transmission. After a short moment, a man with a dark beard stubble walked in. Qin Yu carefully sized up this man called Qin Shirtian. Qin Shirtian had a very determined expression. Qin Yu was able to tell that Qin Shirtian was a forthright and straightforward man. His bright and spirited eyes were staring at Qin Yu. Utmost Supreme Third Elder? Qin Shirtian was a bit uncertain. Qin Zheng said, "Why call him Utmost Supreme Third Elder? Just call him Master. Little Yu, what do you think?" "Master?" Qin Yu was slightly startled. A figure immediately appeared in Qin Yu's mind. Lu Hanshu. "Little Yu, what are you thinking about?" Seeing that Qin Yu was distracted, Qin Zheng asked. "Oh no, it's nothing." Qin Yu looked at Qin Shirtian. Seeing the longing expression in Qin Shirtian's eyes, he smiled indifferently and said, "Okay, from now on, you can be considered as my second disciple." "Second disciple?" Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu with a puzzled expression. As for Qin Shirtian, he immediately kneeled down, kowtowed and said, "This disciple pays his respects to Master. Asterisk 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 East Hazy Mountain Misty Villa. 4,000 years had passed. However, the Misty Villa had been maintained by the successive generations of the Qin clan. Its appearance from 4,000 years ago was practically the same. Usually, only Qin Yu would come to the Misty Villa to take a stroll. However now, Qin Yu was staying in the Misty Villa. Night. Lanterns were hung in the Misty Villa. Qin Yu was only wearing underpants. His chest was bare as he lay in the Misty Villa's special hot spring. He was lying down just like when he was young. There was only Qin Yu in the hot spring. This sort of feeling is truly comfortable. A tranquil smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. Qin Yu's heart, which was as hard as a boulder, had also softened at this moment. Under the dim light of the lanterns, Qin Yu enjoyed the tranquility of the night. Lying on his back, his eyes stared at the stars in the sky. Thinking back to when he was young, he had also stared at the stars in the sky like this. He had also been alone. He had once cultivated his movement techniques in this hot spring. He had also cultivated his external techniques in this hot spring. Qin Yu closed his eyes. It was as though he could still hear the ha sounds from back then when he was cultivating. In the blink of an eye, 4,000 years have passed. Time has passed so quickly. Royal Father, Big Brother, and the others have already arrived in the immortal realm. Tomorrow, I will make a trip to the Tunglong continent and figure out which immortal realm planet the experts from the Purple Mystic Star are at. After settling the matters of Royal Father and the others, I will have to concentrate on cultivating. Qin Yu's thoughts began to wander towards Li Er. Li Er's smiles and frowns. Especially in front of Zhou Xian, Li Er's helplessness and reluctance when he parted with her. However, Qin Yu would never forget Zhou Xian's indifference, disdain, and those words he had said to him. "Brat, you are immortal. Li Er is not someone you can call. Similarly, my name Zhou Xian is not someone you can call. From today onwards, you are not allowed to say Li Er, and you are not allowed to call me by my name. Do you understand?" Qin Yu clearly remembered Zhou Xian's disdainful words. "Zhou Xian, this group of people will definitely stop me from being together with Li Er." Qin Yu clenched his fists, blue veins popping out. His eyes burst with light. Pooh! 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 The surrounding space shook violently. The hot spring Qin Yu was lying in also exploded, splashing water everywhere. Qin Yu took a deep breath, suppressing the impatience and anger in his heart. Only then did the surface of the hot spring calm down. God realm. Qin Yu's eyes gradually turned cold. I have never liked killing people. However, if Zhou Xian and this group of people insist on stopping me from being together with Li Er, then they cannot blame me for turning into an Azura and starting a massacre. Qin Yu's heart gave birth to a trace of killing intent. Even though his current strength was weak, Qin Yu was not afraid in the slightest. After all, the gap between him and a heavenly deity could be seen. That's a matter for after I reach the God realm. Right now what I need to do is to increase my strength as much as possible. Qin Yu nodded to himself. Before that, I need to make arrangements for Royal Father, Big Brother and the others. Under the hazy light of the lanterns, Qin Yu's eyes glittered. Tunglong continent. The Tunglong continent was mainly divided into the side of Xiaxianists and the side of Xiamoists. At that time, the head of the Xiaxianists, the Qingshu Temple, was burned by Qin Yu's heavenly flames. In the end, even the Qingxi Temple's experts were killed. This caused the Qingxi Temple to fall to its lowest point in history. Currently, the two strongest sects of the Xiaxianists were the Purple Sun School and the Lanyang School. When the Qingxi Temple fell from its divine altar and became a second-rate sect, these two sects began to recruit disciples non-stop. The location of the Purple Sun School was a place with beautiful mountains and limpid waters. Practically every day, there would be disciples wanting to enter the Purple Sun School. Today was no exception. A group of youngsters stepped onto the Purple Sun School's mountain path, with faces full of excitement. This group of youngsters were from the same village. This time, they had also come together to enter the Purple Sun School. Merely, it was hard to say whether or not the Purple Sun School would accept them. This group of youngsters walked to the entrance of the Purple Sun School. This is the Purple Sun School. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. A youngster standing on a flying sword shouted from afar. This group of youngsters hurriedly bowed and said, "Senior, we wish to enter the Purple Sun School." "Oh, wait a moment," said that youngster indifferently. And at this moment, a white-clothed man floated past this group of youngsters. That youngster standing on a flying sword immediately shouted, "You stop." That white-clothed man did not even take a glance at that youngster. Instead, his gaze swept across the entire Purple Sun School. He sighed. The Purple Sun School is even more prosperous than the Qingxi Temple of the past. After he finished saying that, the white-clothed man moved his feet and arrived outside the main hall of the Purple Sun School. Teleportation. That youngster standing on a flying sword immediately did not dare to shout. It's only been 4,000 years. The current Purple Sun School has even more loose immortal experts than before. The white-clothed man stood at the entrance of the main hall. His gaze was cast toward a palace within the Purple Sun School. Soon after, he disappeared. The two disciples guarding the entrance of the main hall looked at each other. They were overwhelmed with shock. Immediately after, they went to report to the upper echelons of the Purple Sun School. Many of the loose immortals of the Purple Sun School were still in the chaotic astral ocean. Only about a third of them were in the Purple Sun School. However, the current number one expert of the Purple Sun School, the 12th Tribulation loose immortal Reverend Fenyang, was in the Purple Sun School. That was because he was about to ascend. The palace that the white-clothed man was looking at was the palace where Reverend Fenyang was meditating. In a meditation room within the palace, Reverend Fenyang was sitting cross-legged on the ground. "Let me ask you something. You only need to answer." A voice suddenly sounded in the room. Reverend Fenyang opened his eyes in shock. He looked at the man in front of him in disbelief. The room was completely sealed. There was even a restriction outside the room. Reverend Fenyang did not expect that someone would be able to enter the room without alerting him. The restriction wasn't broken? The door wasn't even opened? Reverend Fenyang was even more shocked. "Let me ask you, which planet will the Deshang stage experts of the Purple Mystic Planet go to after they ascend?" Qin Yu asked directly. Today, Qin Yu was dressed in white. His long hair fluttered in the wind. He did not have the killing intent he had in the past. Reverend Fenyang did not dare to think too much. He quickly said respectfully, "Senior, once the cultivators of the Purple Mystic Planet ascend, they will go to the Fish Sun Planet in the Flowing Spring Galaxy of the Immortal World." Qin Yu was stunned. "You mean the Flowing Spring Galaxy?" Qin Yu raised his voice. Reverend Fenyang quickly said, "Yes, Junior is certain. Also, our Purple Sun sect has a way to communicate with the Immortal World. Our sect's ancestors are all on the Fish Sun Planet of the Flowing Spring Galaxy. The Flowing Spring Galaxy used to be Emperor Yu's territory. Now it is under the control of the Mystic Emperor. I hope nothing bad happens." Qin Yu frowned. Originally, Qin Yu had the intention of spending some time leisurely in the Purple Mystic Planet. However, after knowing the planet his father would ascend to, Qin Yu did not have the slightest bit of leisure. "I must return immediately." Qin Yu took a glance at Reverend Fenyang. He said indifferently, "You can just pretend that I never came and continue training." After he finished saying those words, Qin Yu disappeared. "Yes, Senior." Reverend Fenyang quickly said. He then looked at the empty room and felt that the restriction was still intact. He felt that what happened just now was like a dream. Ignoring the existence of the restriction? Was I dreaming? Reverend Fanyang muttered to himself. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Chapter 469. Hidden Dragon Continent, Tang Dynasty Empire's flame capital city. In a living room of the Virtue Garden, there were only Qin Yu and Qin Zheng in the living room. Second brother, I must leave. Qin Yu looked at his second brother Qin Zheng and said solemnly, What's wrong? Are you in a hurry to go back? If there's nothing, just stay in the Hidden Dragon Continent for a few more days. Qin Zheng was unwilling to let Qin Yu leave so quickly. After all, Qin Yu had only returned for a few days. Qin Yu shook his head and said helplessly, I can't. I already know the place where the Deshang stage cultivators of the Purple Mystic Star ascended. That place is controlled by an enemy of mine in the immortal devil and demon realm. Little Yu, you mean? Qin Zheng's expression changed. Qin Yu nodded and said solemnly, That's right. What I'm most worried about is that person finding trouble with my father and big brother. If that's the case, then things would be really bad. Qin Zheng was also somewhat worried. Little Yu, is that enemy very powerful? She's all right. However, my father and them are unable to contend against her. I hope that she hasn't noticed my father and big brother yet. Qin Yu recalled the hateful expression of the Mystic Emperor when she left. The death of Emperor Yu. The Mystic Emperor would definitely blame it on him. Thinking of this, Qin Yu couldn't help but become even more anxious. Okay, since that's the case, I won't stop you. Little Yu, no matter what, you must protect my father and big brother. Qin Zheng said anxiously. Second brother, even if you don't say it, I know. They are your father and big brother. They are also my father and big brother. Qin Yu comforted. Before leaving, Qin Yu also had a few things to arrange. Qin Yu entrusted Qin Zheng. Second brother, I'll leave everything in the mortal realm to you. Now that you have those two 12th tribulation loose demons as your spirit beasts, there shouldn't be any problems. However, once you ascend, those two spirit beasts will also ascend. Thus, I still have to give you something. Qin Zheng couldn't help but look at Qin Yu. With a thought from Qin Yu, a figure emerged from Qin Yu's body and landed beside him. It was the sword immortal puppet that Uncle Lan had given him back then. The strongest offensive power of the sword immortal puppet was only a level 9 golden immortal. Only its defense was slightly stronger. But for the current Qin Yu, it was not that useful anymore. This is the sword immortal puppet. From today onwards, this sword immortal puppet shall become the inherited treasure of our Qin family in the mortal realm. Regardless of who it is, before ascending to the immortal devil and demon realm, they must pass this sword immortal puppet to the next great elder of the Qin family. Qin Yu said. The Qin clan's clan head was replaced every 100 years, so the clan head was changed relatively quickly. However, the position of great elder could not be changed. Only when the previous great elder ascended would there be a new great elder. Sword immortal puppet? Qin Zheng looked curiously at the sword immortal puppet. Little Yu, is this a human's body? You could say that. However, this was something that Uncle Lan had refined and given to me back then. It's just that for the current me, this sword immortal puppet no longer has any use. Qin Yu said with a smile. This sword immortal puppet requires top-grade elemental spirit stones in order to use it. Here are 150 top-grade elemental spirit stones. Regarding the usage of the sword immortal puppet, you can learn all about it. Qin Yu handed over a middle-grade immortal artifact spatial ring. This spatial ring was something that Qin Yu had obtained in Inai Yang's realm. This spatial ring contains top-grade elemental spirit stones, as well as the method to use the sword immortal puppet. Qin Yu entrusted. Qin Zheng immediately received the spatial ring. After dripping a drop of blood on it, Qin Zheng took out the jade slip from the spatial ring. With a sweep of his spiritual awareness, he completely understood everything that was within it. This sword immortal puppet. Knowing the power of the sword immortal puppet, Qin Zheng could not help but be shocked. Heavens! With the sword immortal puppet, the Qin family was simply invincible in the mortal realm. Second brother, The existence of this sword immortal puppet should only be known by a few generations of elders. Do not spread it out. Otherwise, my Qin family's disciples would all be too arrogant. That would also lose my original intention. Qin Yu continued. Unless it is a critical moment, this sword immortal puppet absolutely cannot be used. Although I have kept a lot of top-grade elemental spirit stones, I still have to consider for the future. Qin Zheng nodded and said with a smile, Don't worry, little Yu. Your second brother has been an emperor for dozens of years in the past. I know what to do. This sword immortal puppet, unless it is a critical moment for my Qin family, absolutely cannot be used. Only then did Qin Yu feel relieved. Those two spirit beasts have also been arranged. This sword immortal puppet is also given to you. Now I can be at ease. Qin Yu tried his best to squeeze out a smile. Second brother, I have to go. Qin Zheng held onto Qin Yu's shoulders and stared at Qin Yu. Don't be like this. Qin Yu squeezed out a smile and said, We'll have the opportunity to meet again in the future. After saying that, Qin Yu moved and appeared in the sky. Little Yu. Qin Zheng looked at Qin Yu's figure in the sky. His eyes were somewhat red. Qin Yu turned around and took a glance. He smiled and then disappeared in the sky. With a greater teleportation, Qin Yu returned to the spatial channel. Through the spatial channel that was similar to a black hole, Qin Yu returned to the bewitching god temple in the immortal devil and demon realm. Right after Qin Yu entered the courtyard from the central transfer palace, the housekeeper of the bewitching god temple, Uncle Fu, appeared. Qin Yu, you're leaving? Uncle Fu said with a beaming smile. Qin Yu nodded. Uncle Fu, the next time I come here, it will be the time when I take over the bewitching god temple. I'm also looking forward to that day. Being here all by myself, I'm also reminiscing about the time I spent in the divine realm. Uncle Fu's gaze was misty. It was as if he was reminiscing about the days of the past. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Is Uncle Fu really not a human? It seems like this Uncle Fu has emotions, thoughts, and so on. The ability of the divine realm to refine puppets was indeed beyond imagination. Uncle Fu, farewell. Qin Yu bid farewell to Uncle Fu. Uncle Fu nodded and said with a smile. Qin Yu, there's no need for you to go through so much trouble when you leave. With your strength and the might of the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, Divine Spear Waning Snow, you're more than capable of breaking open the seals on those two passages. Although Qin Yu had obtained the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, Divine Spear Waning Snow, he had never truly used it. Qin Yu had already experienced the might of the seals on those two passages. Who would have thought that he, who was only able to barely shake the seals on the passages in the past, would be able to easily break them now that he possessed the Divine Spear Waning Snow? One could easily determine how much his attack power had increased by. There's no need for me to use the Divine Spear Waning Snow in the immortal, devil and demon realm, Qin Yu said with a light smile. After he finished saying those words, Qin Yu walked out of the courtyard and entered the front palace. Following the front palace's corridor, Qin Yu walked out of the bewitching god temple with ease and familiarity. He flew into the misty illusion barrier. Go straight ahead. There's no need to worry about the illusion barrier outside. Uncle Fu stood at the entrance of the bewitching god temple and said to Qin Yu. Qin Yu nodded. Wherever Qin Yu's figure passed by, a path actually appeared in the illusion barrier. Qin Yu continued to fly at a rapid speed. In a very relaxed and fast manner, he passed through this enormous illusion barrier. It's time to go find Royal Father. Qin Yu looked at the seal on the entrance of the bewitching god temple and muttered. Times immortal realm, flowing spring galaxy. The fish sun star was the core planet of the flowing spring galaxy. This place was extremely flourishing. As the place where many mortal realms planets ascended, there were a lot of small sects and schools on the fish sun star. Clear Void Monastery, Purple Sun Sect, Heavenly South Sect. In short, there were a lot of small sects and powers here. Of course, the core power was still one of the three big shots of the immortal realm, the Mystic Emperor's troops. 9 Amplification Sect, the largest sect on the Fish Sun Star. Their sect master was an important subordinate of the Mystic Emperor. With the strength of a level 4 immortal emperor, the 9 amplification sect master, was able to look down on the entire flowing spring galaxy. In a restaurant on the Fish Sun Star City, 2 people were currently sitting. "Brother Feng, where do you think you are is?" said a middle-aged man sitting on the left. This middle-aged man was Qin Yu's father, the East-vanquishing Prince Qin Da. And the person sitting across from him was Fenjiuzi, the person widely rumored to be extremely powerful. The person who suppressed Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor is also called Qin Yu. "Say, could they be the same person?" said Qin Da with a frown. Fenjiuzi said indifferently, "Brother Qin, you and I have known each other for so many years. You're also a calm and steady person. Why is it that when it comes to little Yu, you become muddle-headed? What is the strength of that Qin Yu who suppressed Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor? He definitely has the strength of a level 9 immortal emperor. How many years has it been since little Yu ascended? Furthermore, that Qin Yu's most glorious time was over 3,000 years ago. At that time, little Yu had only ascended for several hundred years. To possess the strength of a level 9 immortal emperor in merely several hundred years? Is that even possible?" "That's right, I'm muddle-headed." Qin Da laughed at himself. Little Yu's talent is indeed pretty good. However, it is unlikely for him to possess that kind of speed. Furthermore, the Mystic Emperor and his 9 amplification sect have treated us very well. Sighed Fenjiuzi. If that legendary Qin Yu is little Yu, then how could the Mystic Emperor and the 9 amplification sect treat us so well? Qin Da nodded. "Sigh, there are too many people in the immortal devil and demon realm. The population of a single planet is in the billions or even more. There are countless planets like this. A person by the name of Qin Yu could be found in the thousands on a single planet, much less the entire immortal, devil and demon realm. Finding little Yu is truly difficult." Qin Da heaved a long sigh. Fenjiuzi lightly smiled and said, "Rest assured, with little Yu's temperament, he would definitely not be unknown. Wait until he becomes famous, then you'll naturally be able to find him." "That's true. Come, let's drink." Qin Da no longer thought about it, and immediately raised his cup. Haha, what a great joke. On another table in the restaurant, a youth was laughing loudly. He then pointed at Qin Da and Fenjiuzi. These two actually said that Senior Qin Yu is their little Yu. 2 nobodies who are merely heavenly immortals actually vainly attempted to befriend Senior Qin Yu. Truly, haha, I'm dying of laughter. An immortal at the same table as this youth sneered. Enough, there's no need to waste words with 2 heavenly immortals. If they want to dream, then let them dream. The 2 of you listen up. At the corner of the restaurant, a black-clothed man glanced at Qin Da and Fenjiuzi. He coldly said, "In the future, do not say that Qin Yu is some little Yu. Senior Qin Yu is not someone the likes of you can casually talk about." Clearly, this black-clothed man belonged to the group of people who worship Qin Yu. Given Qin Yu's strength, there were indeed many people who worshipped Qin Yu in the immortal realm. This black-clothed man, who seemed to be very powerful, was clearly one of those people as well. Hearing this, Qin Da frowned. "Brother Feng, let's go back," Qin Da said to Fenjiuzi. Fenjiuzi could also sense the disdain the people in the restaurant had for them. He immediately nodded. The 2 of them were only heavenly immortals. In a core planet like the Fish Sun Star, they were definitely considered weak. Any random immortal would be able to trample the 2 of them. They could only endure. "Shut up." Suddenly a loud shout was heard. A purple-clothed old man walked up from the staircase. The purple-clothed old man coldly swept his gaze across the people in the restaurant. After that, his gaze was cast toward the black-clothed man. "Ah, second elder." Immediately, 3 people in the restaurant stood up and said respectfully. The owner of the restaurant also stood out. "So it's actually Lord Second Elder of the 9 amplification sect. Second Elder, please come in," that restaurant owner promptly said. The second elder said coldly, "All of you listen carefully. Qin Da and Fenjiuzi are our 9 amplification sect's honored guests. If the 2 of you dare to speak rudely in the future, it would be the same as insulting our 9 amplification sect. Do you hear me?" The 2 immortals who were arrogant earlier immediately grew silent. As for that black-clothed man, he also turned his head around and did not say anything else. In terms of strength, this black-clothed man was still no match for the level 9 golden immortal second elder. Brother Chinda, I'm sorry to have let these two people disturb you. Sigh, Brother Chinda, didn't I tell you before? In the future, if you want to eat, go to the restaurants under our 9 amplifications sect. There will definitely be no one who would dare to disturb the two of you. This second elder looked at Chinda and immediately became very amiable. Chinda hurriedly said, Second elder, there's no need for that. We've already troubled your 9 amplifications sect enough. To even have to eat in your restaurants, we truly feel apologetic. What are you saying? Brother Chinda, you're regarding us as outsiders. As long as you treat our 9 amplifications sect as your home, on this fish sun star, no one would dare to not give our 9 amplifications sect face. This second elder said arrogantly. Immediately after, he turned to Chinda and said amiably, Brother Chinda, come to my place to play. A few days ago, I played a game of chess with you. I was somewhat unwilling to accept my loss. Today, I will definitely win it back. Chinda and Fingiuzi glanced at each other. In the end, they stood up. And right at this moment, a black-clothed youth suddenly appeared in the center of the restaurant. His long robe fluttered without any wind, and his pitch-black long hair scattered about. Everyone in the restaurant, including that level 9 golden immortal second elder, felt a burst of pressure coming from their souls. Everyone felt a burst of fear. It was so much that their hands and feet felt weak. Who is this person? The second elder looked to this black-clothed youth, who had suddenly appeared with fear. The second elder even felt that the immortal elemental energy within his body had become chaotic and uncontrollable. You are. Chinda looked to the person before him. For a moment, he did not dare to recognize him. Merely the aura emitted by this black-clothed youth was capable of causing the immortal elemental energy within a level 9 golden immortal to become chaotic. This sort of strength, it was likely that even level 8 or 9 immortal emperors would not be able to match him. The black-clothed youth looked to Chinda and Fingiuzi. He displayed a smile on his face. Royal Father Uncle Feng. You're really little you? Fingiuzi also looked to Qingyu in shock. Chapter 470. Chinda looked at the black-gowned youth before him. His appearance was so similar to his son's. However, that astonishing strength. One only needed to look at the deathly pale 9 amplifications second elder to know that. However, the feeling that originated from his heart was extremely clear. You are. Chinda finally called out. Royal Father, I've finally found you. Qingyu also had an excited smile on his face. However, after training to this point, there were very few things that could cause Qingyu's heart to fluctuate like this. Fingiuzi also tried his best to swallow twice, and said in a pleasantly surprised manner, Little you, could it be that you're really that legendary Qingyu? Seeing Qingyu's strength, he started to believe it. Qingyu turned around and looked at the people in the restaurant. He couldn't help but frown slightly. He then said to Chinda and Fingiuzi cordially, Royal Father Uncle Feng, let's leave this place first. We can slowly talk after that. Cough cough, this senior Qingyu, you're really? That 9 amplifications second elder addressed Qingyu's father as brothers. However, when he saw Qingyu, he instead addressed him as senior Qingyu. This was truly amusing. However, time did not have much meaning to cultivators. After training for 100 million years, if one was still only a golden immortal, even if one were to meet an immortal emperor who had trained for several hundred years, one would still have to respectfully address him as senior. In this place, one's strength was what mattered. Oh, you are? Qingyu looked at this 9 amplifications second elder. He saw that this person seemed to have a pretty good relationship with his father. This junior is the 9 amplifications second elder. That 9 amplifications second elder hurriedly said. Someone from the 9 amplifications sect? Qingyu frowned. On the interstellar map that he had obtained from the Dragon Clan, there was an explanation of the powers on every planet. Qingyu knew very well that this 9 amplifications sect was originally subordinate to Emperor Yu. Right now it was a sect under the Mystic Emperor. No matter what sort of conspiracy, before absolute strength, it's all child's play. Qin Yu, on the other hand, was not worried in the slightest. With his current strength, especially after obtaining the high-quality heavenly divine artifact, the divine spear Waning Snow, in the entire immortal devil and demon realm, there was absolutely no one capable of blocking a single spear strike from him. Even if he didn't use a high-quality heavenly divine artifact, and merely relied on his comprehension of the spatial laws, his strength would be comparable to the Gold Punishment Lord, Black Flame Lord, White Profound Lord, and the others. Qin Yu stopped thinking about it. Father, Uncle Feng, let's leave this place first. I haven't seen Big Brother for a long time. Xiaolu, Dashan and the others are also here, right? Qin Yu said with a smile. In front of his relatives, Qin Yu's smile was always so warm and sincere. Qin Da nods and says with a sigh, right, let's go back. Your big brother has been talking about you for a long time. Qin Yu didn't know where the Qin clan was staying. He could only follow his father and Uncle Feng. The three of them flew out of the restaurant and rushed towards the Qin clan's residence. As for the 9 Amplifications Sect's second elder, he took out his transmission spiritual pearl and sent a message. After that, the 9 Amplifications Sect's second elder also flew out of the restaurant. Only after Qin Yu left the restaurant for a long time did the people in the restaurant manage to catch their breath. That man from earlier, he's so frightening. An immortal's complexion was still somewhat pale. The black-clothed man at the corner of the restaurant stared at the location where Qin Yu flew out from. He was shocked. His strength is even stronger than my master's, much stronger. Could it be that he really is Senior Qin Yu? The conversation between Qin Yu, Qin Da and Finjiuzi earlier, as well as the conversation between Qin Da and Finjiuzi at the beginning, was something that the majority of the people in the restaurant knew. Merely from the conversation and Qin Yu's strength earlier, practically everyone came to a conclusion that the black-clothed youth from earlier was the legendary immortal Emperor Qin Yu. Earlier, we were cursing Senior Qin Yu's family? The two immortals that had reprimanded Qin Da earlier looked to each other and began to sweat cold sweat. Qin Yu followed behind Qin Da and Finjiuzi. After flying for quite some time, they finally landed near a manor. The walls surrounding this manor alone were several thousand meters long. Even on the Fish Sun planet, this manor was considered a rather luxurious and extravagant manor. In particular, this manor was located within a city. Generally speaking, without sufficient strength, one would not be able to own such a manor. Qin Yu's group of 3 landed outside the manor's gates. When the 2 servants guarding the gates saw Qin Da's group, they hurriedly called out respectfully, "Master!" Qin Da immediately smiled and pulled Qin Yu into the enormous manor. "Royal Father, this is where you and Big Brother live?" Qin Yu asked, puzzled. Given the strength of his father and Big Brother, how could they own such a large manor on the core planet, the Fish Sun planet? Right. Qin Da laughed and nodded. Actually, this is your Auntie Feng's manor as well. However, after your Auntie Feng and your Uncle Feng became Dao companions, we were able to live in this manor as well. Qin Yu couldn't help but laugh as he looked at Finjiuzi. Uncle Feng, congratulations. Finjiuzi couldn't help but stroke his beard and smile. This is fate. I spent so many years in the mortal realm, but I never imagined that I would have a day like this, much less that I would be able to meet your Auntie Feng. The heavens have treated me quite well. Don't be so smug. Come, let's talk in the main hall, Qin Da said with a laugh. Qin Yu's group of 3 continued forward. Within the manor, there was an enormous pond, and above the pond was an arched bridge. After crossing the bridge, they followed a winding corridor for a while before arriving at the main hall, where guests were received. Tell the young master and the others to come to the main hall. Qin Da laughed as he spoke to the servant outside the main hall. Yes, master. The servant immediately left. Qin Yu's group of 3 took their seats. Big Brother doesn't seem to be in the manor? With a sweep of his divine awareness, Qin Yu discovered that among the people he knew in the manor, only little Jade was present. Even Taishan wasn't present. Qin Yu was not in a hurry to call little Jade. Since little Jade was about to come over, there was no need for him to be impatient. Qin Da was startled. He said, "Not here. I don't know about that. However, don't worry. Your big brother isn't in the manor, he's definitely somewhere in the city. I've already ordered people to call them. The housekeeper will inform them, through the transmission spiritual pearl. Qingyu nodded his head. How have you been all these years? Also, not long after I arrived in the immortal realm, I heard about an extremely exceptional expert, also called Qingyu. Could it be that he's really you? Even now, Qingda still couldn't believe it. Fenjiazi also looked at Qingyu. Little you. I've heard that that person had once killed 26 immortal emperors in succession. In the end, even Emperor Yu fled in defeat. Furthermore, on the planet where the Cyan Emperor was undergoing his tribulation, he had also once displayed astonishing strength. It was said that he was a level 9 immortal emperor. Qingyu laughed at himself and said, the more the rumors spread, the more outrageous they become. Although many things could be considered true, they were also not like what the outside world said. Back then, my strength was also not that exaggerated. You're really? Hearing Qinyu's tone, Fenjiuzi and Qingyu felt that Qingyu seemed to have admitted that he was that person. Qingyu nodded his head and said, that's right. But at that time, how many years had it been since you ascended? Fenjiuzi was terrified of his own thoughts. How long had it been since Qingyu ascended? He actually killed 26 immortal emperors in succession? Qingyu shook his head and smiled. No, actually, the person who killed 26 immortal emperors in succession was not me. It was someone else. Oh, that's what I said. Little you. Although you're a genius, you've only ascended for 100 or 200 years. How could you possibly kill 26 immortal emperors in succession? Fenjiazi suddenly realized. Qingda frowned and asked. You are at that time, who saved you and killed 26 immortal emperors? Saved? Not really. It was mainly because I had the divine tool 10,000 Beasts Atlas. The 10,000 Beasts Atlas has 3 layers. The first layer is for heavenly demon level spirit beasts. The second layer is for demon king level spirit beasts. The third layer is for demon emperor level spirit beasts. At that time, I finally reached the immortal emperor level, so I finally opened the third layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. Then I ordered an extremely powerful demon emperor to kill those people. Qingyu spoke the truth in front of his relatives. Fenjiazi stared and pointed at Qingyu. He was unable to say a word. You, Uncle Fenjiazi. Qingyu looked at Fenjiazi in confusion. After a while, Fenjiazi recovered and said, Little you said you reached the immortal emperor level at that time? That's right. If I did not reach that level, how could I open the third layer of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas? Qingyu said with a light smile. Only now did he understand why Fenjiazi was shocked. At that time, he had indeed only ascended for 100+ years. To reach the immortal emperor level in 100+ years was indeed shocking. Someone said that you fought against Emperor Yu on the planet where the Cyan Emperor underwent his tribulation? You even fought against him? Qingda took a deep breath and looked at his son, who seemed to be filled with miracles with anticipation. Qingyu nodded and said with a smile, That's right. During the battle on the reef Yellow Star, I was no match for Emperor Yu. However, when the Cyan Emperor underwent his tribulation, even though Emperor Yu had reached level 9 Immortal Emperor at that time, I was no longer inferior to him. When the Cyan Emperor underwent his tribulation, Qingyu had only ascended for several hundred years, not even 1,000 years. Fenjiuzi and Qingda took a glance at each other. Was this still their third son who they thought to have no future when he was still a child? Just when Fenjiuzi and Qingda were about to say something suddenly, Big brother Yu. A clear and melodious voice sounded. A sweet-tempered, beautiful woman happily ran in. Little Lu. When Qingyu saw the person who came in, he was unable to refrain his happiness. Little Lu was his childhood playmate. Right after Little Lu came in, a group of people immediately rushed in. Some of these people appeared to be old, some appeared to be young, and some appeared to be youths. However, without exception, this group of people all had eyes filled with excitement. After this group of people came in, their gazes were all cast toward the only stranger, Qingyu. He was the person who had contributed the most to the rise of the Qing clan in the cultivation world. In the history of the mortal realm, His achievements had practically become a miracle. When the Qin clan's descendants heard about this utmost supreme third elder, they were all filled with adoration toward Qin Yu. To be able to see Qin Yu today, all of them were excited. In their hearts, they clearly remembered Qin Yu's achievements. Unable to train in internal techniques, he relied on external techniques to reach the Xiantian realm, and became the first expert in the Hidden Dragon continent to reach the Xiantian realm through external techniques. At the age of 20, he entered the ranks of cultivators. After entering the overseas cultivation world, in a short few years, he established the Stellar Pavilion and became the overlord of the overseas cultivation world with several 100,000 Zuyoists under his command. Nine Swords Immortal Mansion, Chaotic Astral Ocean, Tunglong Continent. They all remembered Qin Yu's stories very clearly. Great-grandfather, is he third grandfather? A youth quietly said to Qinda. Qinda nodded. He then looked to Qin Yu. These are the descendants of our Qin clan that have ascended in the past 4,000 years. They are only half of them. There are still quite a few of them outside with your big brother. Qin Yu nodded. He then looked to the group of Qin clan's descendants. In the sky above the Fish Sun Star City, a group of people were rapidly flying. The person leading them was precisely Qin Feng. Among this group of people from the Qin clan in the immortal realm, Qin Feng's prestige was second only to Qin Da. Little you actually came. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with ecstasy. All of you fly faster. Qin Feng turned around and shouted. The group of people behind him immediately tried their best to fly even faster. At this moment, over a dozen people flew up from below. The person leading them was a white-clothed youth. This white-clothed youth led over a dozen people and flew to Qin Feng's side. He asked, "Grandfather, why did you send me such an urgent message?" In truth, that housekeeper had only sent a message to Qin Feng, Tai Shan and the other leaders. As for the other juniors, Qin Feng and the others would naturally inform them. Your third grandfather is here. Qin Feng said. Grandfather, you said. That white-clothed youth had an expression of disbelief. A woman behind Qin Feng said with a smile. Little Nan, that's right. Your third grandfather is here. Didn't you always tell me how much you admire your third grandfather? You even said how much you wanted to see him after ascending to the immortal realm. Mother, is it really the utmost supreme third elder? Qin Nan asked again. Amen, why would mother lie to you? That woman said with a smile. Qin Nan's eyes immediately burst forth with ecstasy. Grandfather, quick, let's go. I won't wait for you. After saying that, Qin Nan's speed immediately increased. He turned into a ray of light and left Qin Feng far behind in an instant. Qin Feng's grandson, Qin Nan, was currently the strongest person in the Qin clan. He could also be considered as an outstanding genius. His cultivation speed was also extremely shocking. Little Nan, this child. Qin Feng felt a little helpless. Then, he couldn't resist the desire to see his own brother. He said to Tai Shan, who was beside him, Brother Tai Shan, you lead everyone. I'll go back first. Qin Feng no longer suppressed his speed. He immediately increased his speed to the fastest as he rushed back to the manor. However, his speed was still slightly slower than Qin Nan's. It was bustling with activity. Currently, a large group of people had gathered in the main hall of the Qin clan's manor. The Qin clan's manor had never been so lively before. This group of people would occasionally look at Qin Yu. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and admiration. However, in this large group of people, most of them didn't dare to speak to Qin Yu. Only those who were braver would go up and speak to Qin Yu. As for the others, they would look at the people who spoke to Qin Yu with envy. The number of people in the main hall continued to increase. Brother Yang, is that really the third supreme elder? Some of the younger disciples of the Qin clan were discussing at the edge of the main hall. Yes, that's the third supreme elder. If only the third supreme elder could talk to me and smile at me, said the young man beside him. Then go ahead. A few people have already gone up to talk to the third supreme elder. The third supreme elder is still very nice. No, I don't dare. The young man seemed to be a little timid and embarrassed. Great-grandfather. A voice suddenly echoed in the main hall. A figure immediately rushed into the main hall. It was Qin Nan who had rushed over at an extremely fast speed. Qin Yu couldn't help but notice the young man who had rushed in. Judging from his strength, he was a level 1 golden immortal. He was definitely the strongest person in the entire Qin clan. Little Nan, this is your third grandfather Qin Yu. Qin Da patted Qin Nan's head affectionately. Qin Da lovingly stroked Qin Nan's head. Qin Nan also obediently stood beside Qin Da. Only, he was secretly looking at Qin Yu. Seeing that Qin Yu was looking at him with a beaming smile, as if he was caught stealing something, Qin Nan's face immediately turned red. Ah, little Nan, you're blushing? Qin Da was shocked. He then looked at Fengjizi beside him. Brother Feng, to think that little Nan would have a time when he blushes. Truly, the sun has risen from the west. To suddenly see the idol that he had worshipped for several thousand years, it was normal for him to feel nervous. Little Yu, this is Big Brother's grandson Little Nan. He is the one with the best talent in our Qin clan. Oh, I'm wrong. He's second only to you. Qin Da said while laughing. When he thought of Qin Yu's cultivation speed, even with Qin Da's temperament, he couldn't help but smack his lips. In merely a few hundred years, he was already comparable to a level 9 immortal emperor. Emperor Yu? He actually had such a son. The heavens were truly generous to him, Qin Da. Little Yu. A loud and clear voice sounded in the main hall. Big brother. Qin Yu suddenly stood up. At the doorway of the main hall stood a robust young man. His appearance was 70% similar to Qin Yu's. The only difference was that he was 2% more boorish than Qin Yu. The two brothers looked at each other. The hot blood in each other's body began to surge. They were blood brothers. Qin Yu and Qin Feng suddenly hugged each other before letting go. How many years has it been? After being in the immortal realm for so many years, I finally met you. Haha, today is truly a joyous day. Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh loudly. Big brother. Today is also the happiest day I've ever had in the immortal realm. Qin Yu also felt his heart heating up. And at this moment, a beautiful woman walked in. Brother Feng, I've heard that your nephew Qin Yu is here? Fengjizi immediately stood up and walked to the side of this beautiful woman with a face full of smiles. He pulled this beautiful woman's hand and walked to Qin Yu's side. Little Yu, this is your Aunt Feng Lian Yu. She's also someone I met in the immortal realm. Lian Yu? Who is Xianxi to you? Qin Yu looked at this Lian Yu. His gaze grew cold. With Qin Yu's strength, he was able to tell with a single glance that this Lian Yu, before him, trained in the same martial technique as Xianxi. Mystic Emperor is precisely Lian Yu's master. This beautiful woman called Lian Yu smiled and said, Master knows about the news of your arrival, Qin Yu. I reckon that she's about to arrive at the Fish Sun Star. Fengjiuzi said confusedly, Lian Yu your master? Isn't your master the benefactor who saved all of our lives, the senior expert of the 9 amplification sect? Brother Qin Yu, I've come to congratulate you after knowing that you've reunited with your father and the others. I'm truly sorry. A voice faintly resounded within the main hall. At the same time, a white-clothed woman walked in. Master. This Lian Yu immediately said respectfully. So it's our benefactor. Qin Da hurriedly stood up. Qin Yu frowned. This white-clothed woman was precisely the mystic emperor Xian, she who had a great enmity with him. Chapter 471. Xianxi's arrival caused the Qin family disciples in the main hall to stand to the side and not make a sound. As for Qin Da, he walked over respectfully and said, Benefactor and my son are old acquaintances? Old acquaintances? That's right. I am indeed acquainted with your son Qin Yu. Xianxi said with a smile. Immediately after, her gaze turned toward Qin Yu. Qin Yu slightly frowned. What was this Xianxi trying to do? From the looks of it, this Xianxi ought to have already found his royal father and the others. If Xianxi wanted to kill them, she would have done so long ago. Why didn't she kill them? Instead, she treated them so courteously? Little Yu, earlier, you said that your benefactor was the mystic emperor? What's going on? Fengjizi asked. At this moment, Fengjizi's brows were tightly knitted. It was obvious that he was distressed. Who didn't know about the grudges between Qin Yu and Emperor Yu? However, the mystic emperor and Emperor Yu were husband and wife. After Emperor Yu died, The mystic emperor treated Qin Yu's family so well. She even married her beloved disciple to Fengjiuzi. As long as one had a brain, they would be able to tell that something was amiss. Mystic Emperor. Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. How did you conceal your identity and become my family's benefactor? I wonder if you would be able to explain it to me. When Xianxi mentioned this, she had a bitter smile on her face. Qin Yu, earlier, I did not tell your father and the others my true identity. The main reason was because I did not want them to make wild guesses. Qin De, Qin Feng, Fengjiuzi and the others were all standing to the side. They were quietly watching Qin Yu and the Mystic Emperor's conversation. Wild guesses. Mystic Emperor, you have protected so many people of my Qin family. My Qin family is indebted to you. I truly want to thank you. However, to be honest, Mystic Emperor, I truly do not understand why you would do such a thing. Qin Yu said calmly. The Mystic Emperor shook her head and said in disappointment and frustration. If I were to say that I had completely repented, would you believe me? Qin Yu was stunned. Completely repented? How could Qin Yu possibly believe that? An expert who had reached the 9th grade immortal sovereign level would definitely have an unwavering understanding of right and wrong, hatred and enmity. They would even change and repent of their own beliefs. It was almost impossible for a person with such weak mental fortitude to reach the 9th grade immortal sovereign realm. Of course, it wasn't impossible for him to repent. But who was he to the mystic Tharch? The leader of a major force in the immortal world would be an empress in the mortal world. How could such a person repent? The mystic Tharch did not wait for Qin Yu to speak as he continued. Qin Yu, I originally did not have any enmity with you. However, because of my husband, Feng Yu, I eventually became your enemy. That time, when Feng Yu was killed by that expert under your command, I was furious and wanted to kill you. Qin Yu did not make a sound. His eyes locked onto the mystic Tharch as he continued to listen. But then you disappeared, and as time passed, the hatred slowly faded. I, Xianxi, am also a 9th grade immortal sovereign. I will not be blinded by hatred. When I was fully awake, I realized something. From the beginning to the end, it was Feng Yu who forced you, vainly trying to obtain your divine artifact. This led to his death. Xianxi smiled indifferently. In fact, Feng Yu's death allowed me to have no more worries. Now that I am wholeheartedly pursuing the Tao, my soul realm has also improved rapidly. As for you, I also do not want to be entangled with you. Therefore, I can only bestow you a favor and hope that we can end the enmity between us. Qin Yu scanned with his divine sense. The last time they met, the mystic Thearch's soul realm had just entered level 9 immortal sovereign realm. But now it was almost consolidated. This cultivation speed was indeed fast. But even so, was the mystic Thearch's words true? Can I trust her? Qin Yu asked himself. You trust the mystic Tharch for now. Qin De's immortal sense transmission suddenly rang in Qin Yu's mind. After hearing it, Qin Yu's heart calmed down. Although his royal father's martial power was not high, his judgment in handling of matters was much higher than his own. His royal father must have his reasons for making such a decision. Qin Yu immediately sighed. Sigh, Mystic Tharch. If Emperor Yu was as sensible as you are now, then there wouldn't have been such a series of things between me and Emperor Yu. And Emperor Yu wouldn't have died. Feng Yu's death was his own doing. Actually, he had already completely sunk into his heart's devil. It was useless for anyone to persuade him. As his wife, I could only help him at that time. Xianxi sighed. Qin De laughed out loud. Haha, good. It's good that Senior Mystic Tharch and my son's enmity has been settled. Senior Mystic Tharch, let's attend the banquet in this courtyard today. My pleasure. The Mystic Tharch smiled and nodded. Her eyebrows were like the moon, her eyes were like autumn water, and her white clothes were fluttering in the wind. This Mystic Tharch indeed possessed a moving temperament. At the banquet, Qin De, Fengjiuzi, Qin Feng, Qin Yu, a group of Qin clan's disciples, Mystic Tharch, 9 amplifications sect master, Great Elder, Second Elder and other people had all arrived. The courtyard was bustling with noise and excitement. The 9 amplifications sect master, Great Elder and other people had also come to know that the legendary Qin Yu was actually a Qin clan's disciple. Although they were puzzled as to why the mystic Tharch had not killed the Qin clan, and instead treated them so courteously. However, the 9 amplification sect master and others did not dare to offend Qin Yu. All of them were extremely respectful, and their attitude towards Qin Da was much more sincere than before. Qin Yu, Qin Da, Fenjiuzi and his wife, Qin Feng, Mystic Tharch, 9 amplification sect master and great elder. These 8 people were seated at the same table. Ever since she had revealed her identity in the hall, these Qin clan's disciples had been in a state of excitement. At this moment, at the other tables, those Qin clan's disciples were discussing the immortal realm's peak existence, the mystic Tharch, their pride third supreme elder, Qin Yu, and some of the Qin clan's deeds in the immortal realm. Only today, the Qin clan's disciples were able to confirm that Qin Yu was the legendary Qin Yu. This caused this group of Qin clan's disciples who worshipped Qin Yu to become even more excited. Meanwhile, at Qin Yu's table, all of them were toasting each other with smiles on their faces. They were not as excited as the people at the other tables. Brother Qin Yu, your cultivation speed is the fastest I've ever seen or heard of in my entire life. After not seeing you for over 3,000 years, Brother Qin Yu's strength has become even more astonishing. I wonder what level Brother Qin Yu has reached now. She smiled as she looked at Qin Yu. At this moment, Qin Da, Qin Feng, and the others were also looking at Qin Yu. Me, I reckon I'm not far away from undergoing the divine tribulation, Qin Yu said with a smile. Qin Yu could imagine that his soul's level had even surpassed ordinary deities. His cultivation base and fleshly body had already reached the 9th level. He was definitely in line with the requirements to undergo the divine tribulation. However, Qin Yu was unable to determine when the divine tribulation would descend. It can't be that the divine tribulation won't descend, because I'm still at the middle stage of the origin. Right? Qin Yu guessed in his heart. You're not far away from undergoing the divine tribulation. In that case, I must congratulate Brother Qin Yu, she immediately said. Qin Da and the others did not ask any questions. Instead, they immediately changed the topic and talked about other things. After the banquet had ended, the mystic emperor also left with the people from the 9 amplification sect. Only then did Qin Yu, Qin Da, and Qin Feng arrive at a room. Only then did the 3 of them have a proper chat. The 3 of them sat around a small table and poured a cup of tea for each of them. Royal Father, earlier, you wanted me to believe in the mystic emperor? What's going on? Could it be that you think that everything the mystic emperor said was true? In the room, Qin Yu immediately asked the question in his heart. Qin Da held the teacup with both hands and said with a smile, No, I did not think that what he said was true. Then Royal Father, Qin Yu frowned. Qin Da shook his head and said, I did not believe that what the mystic emperor said was true. I also did not believe that what she said was false. There is simply no need to determine whether it's true or false. Little Yu, before that, let me tell you something first. There are 12 of our Qin clan's disciples who have Dao companions and wives in the immortal realm. There are also 3 Qin clan's women who have husbands. As for these Dao companions, wives and husbands, all of them are related to the mystic emperor. Qin Da slowly said. Qin Yu's expression changed. The mystic emperor is indeed ruthless. Qin Yu felt that the mystic emperor was hard to deal with. There were not many Qin clan's disciples in the immortal realm, to begin with. For 15 Qin clan's disciples to have Dao companions related to the mystic emperor all of a sudden, this matter was truly troublesome. If they were to deal with the mystic emperor, then what would those 15 Qin clan's disciples do? Qin Feng also nodded and said, My grandson Little Nan also has a pretty good relationship with a girl recently. According to what I know, that girl lives in the 9 amplification sect. Amazing, amazing. Qin Yu had a trace of anger in his heart. Now that the mystic emperor had used this move, even if Qin Yu wanted to deal with her, he would not be able to easily do so. There's no need to think too much about it. If that mystic emperor wanted to kill our Qin clan's people, she would have done so long ago. She would also not have dragged it out until now. Furthermore, The mystic emperor has indeed shown grace to our Qin clan. Qinda said. Grace? What grace? Qin Yu asked. Qin Feng spoke and said. Our Qin clan's clansmen that have ascended to the Fish Sun Star have all encountered dangers before. Even my royal father and I were the same. However, every single time, we would be saved by the people from the 9 Amplification sect. There was even one time when the mystic emperor personally came to save us. According to the words of the people from the 9 Amplification sect, the reason why they protected us like this was because of the mystic emperor. Of course, in the past, they had only said that the mystic emperor was an expert with an extremely high status in their 9 Amplification sect. Dangerous. This mystic emperor might have deliberately set up some dangerous situations. Qin Yu was instead filled with vigilance toward the mystic emperor. If the mystic emperor was sincere, then why would she allow so many women, and even men, to become the Dao companions of the Qin clan's children? That might be the case. However, I am certain that the mystic emperor has shown grace to our Qin clan. Furthermore, it's a very great grace. Qinda said solemnly. Before that, let me tell you something. You'll understand. Royal father, please speak. Qin Yu said. Qinda said. You should know that the people of the purple mystic star of the mortal realm, as long as they are immortal cultivators, would all ascend to the Fish Sun Star. Furthermore, out of every 10 people that ascend to the Fish Sun Star, over half of them would not even live past 100 years. Really? Qin Yu was astonished. He had never cared about this sort of thing before. Qin Feng nodded and said, That's right. When they had just ascended, they were merely level 1 heavenly immortals. Level 1 heavenly immortals are considered to be at the bottom of the food chain on the Fish Sun Star. However, because those people that ascended were all outstanding talents in the mortal realm, the majority of them would possess some treasures and the like. However, because the heavenly immortals of the Fish Sun Star were too ordinary and their status was too low, their treasures were far inferior to the immortals that ascended. Thus, the immortals that ascended would generally be slaughtered by people with ulterior motives. Only now did Qin Yu come to understand. 5 out of 10 would die. This is the approximate ratio. The vast majority of them are like this. However, in all these years, not a single descendant of our Qin clan that ascended has died. Qinda said solemnly. Why is our Qin clan so special? It's precisely because of the protection of the 9 Amplification sect and the secret orders of the mystic emperor. Even though some of the dangers that our Qin clan encountered were set up by the mystic emperor, some of them still exist normally. For other sects like the Clear Void Monastery, half of the people that ascended would die. Not a single one of us would die. I presume that you also understand the great grace that the mystic emperor has shown to our Qin clan. Qinda looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu slowly nodded. Regardless of what the mystic emperor wanted to do, it would appear that the mystic emperor had shown grace to the Qin clan. After all, if it wasn't for the protection of the mystic emperor, it would be hard to say whether or not his royal father and big brother would still be alive. That's why I said that there's no need to determine if the mystic emperor's words are true or false. When you weren't here, she didn't kill us. Now that you've returned, she would definitely not kill us. For her to do this, she definitely has her reasons. In the future, I believe that everything will come to light. Qinda advised. Qin Yu did not say anything. However, he was pondering in his heart. Qinda and Qin Feng glanced at each other. They did not disturb Qin Yu. If I were to directly kill the mystic emperor now, it could be considered as me repaying kindness with evil. However, my royal father and the others would definitely not agree to it. However, if I don't kill her, there's still the possibility that the mystic emperor might kill my royal father and the others. What should I do? Qin Yu pondered for a moment. Even if I were to kill the mystic emperor, how should I treat Uncle Feng's wife? How should I treat the Dao companions of the 15 children of my Qin clan? Qin Yu slowly shook his head. It would seem that I still cannot deal with the mystic emperor now. For the time being, I can only do this. Qin Yu had already made a decision in his heart. Royal father, you should leave for a period of time. Come back soon. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he disappeared. Only Qin De and Qin Feng were left looking at each other in dismay. They could not help but wonder what exactly Qin Yu wanted to do. Chapter 472. Demon Realm's Bird Clan's core planet, Black Crow Star. Inside the Imperial Palace. Ever since the battle with Wulan, the Peng Demon Emperor had restrained his arrogance by a lot. Usually, he would wholeheartedly train in order to reach the level 9 Demon Emperor level as soon as possible. In the 3,000+ years since Qin Yu disappeared, the Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan had not contacted the Mystic Emperor. Inside the Imperial Palace's private room. Why is this Mystic Emperor looking for me? Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan flipped his hand and took out his transmission spiritual pearl. After sweeping it with his demon awareness, Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan started to frown. Qin Yu had appeared. Why would this Mystic Emperor want to tell him about it? Xianxi, why did you tell me about this? Zhong Yan asked via transmission. Brother Zhong Yan, back then, you chased after Qin Yu and his brothers, and even killed Kuro's older sister by Xian. Furthermore, Kuro also had a hatred of killing your parents. Could it be that you think that Qin Yu and his brothers would not find trouble for you? Xianxi asked instead. Zhong Yan frowned. The hatred between him and Kuro was indeed very hard to eliminate. Xianxi, there's no need for you to worry about this. That Kuro still doesn't know who his birth parents are. Most importantly, it's hard for me to kill Kuro. However, it's also impossible for Kuro and his brothers to kill me. I, Zhong Yan, am confident in my speed, said Zhong Yan indifferently via transmission. Evidently, Zhong Yan didn't want to fight against Qin Yu at all. Over 3,000 years ago, Zhong Yan had joined hands with Emperor Yu and his wife. With the cultivation speed of Qin Yu and his brothers, their current strength was definitely even more frightening. There was also that Wulan that he feared. Zhong Yan didn't want to disgrace himself at all. My speed is fast. It's impossible for them to kill me. This was the true thought in Zhong Yan's heart. Xianxi sent a transmission. Brother Zhong Yan, you should not deceive yourself and others. Back then, Qin Yu and his brothers had only trained for several hundred years. Their strength was already that exceptional. Now that over 3,000 years have passed, no one knows exactly what level their strength has reached. Also, not long ago, I met Qin Yu. I feel that the current Qin Yu is very scary. You met him, but he didn't kill you? Zhong Yan was shocked. Xianxi smiled faintly and replied, I have my ways. However, I have to tell you that Qin Yu's current strength is astonishing. Just by sensing his aura, I know that I may not be able to block even one of his attacks. The feeling he gives me is very similar to that of the Azure Emperor. Very similar. Xianxi didn't know that this aura was the unique aura of someone who had cultivated the Soul Gene Dan. The Azure the Arch had cultivated for a very long time, and his soul had long reached the Soul Gene Dan realm. This was the same aura as Qin Yu. This was also the reason why Qin Yu was unable to sense the Azure Emperor's cultivation when he met him for the first time. Very similar to the Azure Emperor? Zhong Yan's expression changed. Thinking of the Azure Emperor, Zhong Yan felt a burst of fear. Back then, when he, Emperor Yu and the others were facing the Azure Emperor, they were unable to even move. The disparity was truly too great. Thus, I am informing you to be careful of the revenge of Qin Yu and his two brothers. Well then, that's all I have to say. Brother Zhong Yan, I do not care what you decide to do. After saying those words, the Mystic Emperor cut off the connection. At this moment, Zhong Yan was still holding onto his transmission spiritual pearl. His expression changed several times and became somewhat gloomy. Deal with Qin Yu? He was unable to even defeat Qin Yu's subordinate. Kill Qin Yu? Zhong Yan slowly shook his head and made his decision. According to what Xianxi said, the Azure Emperor's aura was very similar to Qin Yu's aura. However, in terms of strength, between Qin Yu and the Azure Emperor, who was stronger? Although the Azure Emperor had trained for a very long time, his soul's realm was at the very most close to that of a mid-level deity. As for Qin Yu, his soul's realm and the assistance of Lu Xing's tears were definitely stronger than his. The Azure Emperor relied on the treasure he obtained from the bewitching god temple and trained for several tens of millions of years. After refining it, he was able to instantly bind Zhong Yan, Emperor Yu and the others. Although that treasure could be considered to be pretty good, when compared to the high-quality heavenly divine artifact Divine Spear, Waning Snow, it was much weaker. If the Azure Emperor were to fight against the current Qinyu, as long as the Divine Spear Waning Snow was used, it would be impossible for the Azure Emperor to block a single spear strike. There were two great entrances to the bewitching god temple. At the entrance to the demon realm, Qinyu was standing by himself outside of the entrance. Back then, when he bid farewell to his royal father and big brother on the Fish Sun Star, Qinyu had used greater teleportation to rush over here. With the current Qinyu's speed, it was nearly 10 times faster than before. 8-9 Space Sealing Array? Qinyu smiled indifferently. Brat outside, the immortal devil and demon realms have made a joint agreement. This entrance has been sealed. Regardless of who it is, no one is allowed to enter. It's best for you to quickly leave. A loud shout sounded from within the bewitching god temple's entrance. Qinyu did not care about it at all. Joint agreement of the immortal devil and demon realms? That should be the agreement of those few leaders. I've obtained this divine spear Waning Snow. However, I haven't used it even once. In the entire immortal devil and demon realm, only this seal is worthy of being used once. Qinyu was slightly excited. With a flip of his hand he took out a spear. The dark black spear shaft, the snow-white spear head, and the blood veins that wrapped around the spear head added a trace of baleful aura. Haha, what's that brat outside planning to do? Could it be that he wants to break the 8-9 Space Sealing Array? Truly laughable. Even the Dragon Emperor, Peng Demon Emperor, and them were unable to break it. Who does this brat think he is? A god? Brothers, the past 10,000 years here has been extremely boring. Let's all watch how this brat breaks the 8-9 Space Sealing Array. The 72 Emperor-level experts that were setting up the formation array started to laugh wantonly. At the same time, they were bored and wanted to see Qinyu make a fool of himself. Holding the spear with one hand, the spear was slanted downwards. Qinyu's figure was perfectly straight. His long black hair fluttered in the wind. His gaze was focused on the seal of the 8-9 Space Sealing Array. Waning Snow, let's use the meaning of the heaven-startling single-stick strike for this first spear strike. Qinyu's wrist lightly shook. The divine spear Waning Snow instantly turned into a roaming dragon. With a slight rotation, it shot toward the entrance. Advance courageously. Break. The 72 Emperor-level experts that were inside the entrance all opened their eyes wide as they watched the scene before them. It was a very simple move. However, from their point of view, it seemed that in an instant, the space surrounding Qinyu had actually started to distort following Qinyu's movement. At the same time, Qinyu's spear had suddenly created a series of illusions. PFFF. Several illusions instantly fused into one. As if piercing through paper, the spearhead pierced through the seal of the 8-9 Space Sealing Array. As for the 72 Emperor-level experts that had set up the array, the instant the array was broken, they all spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. That move just now. There was still blood at the corner of an Emperor-level expert's mouth. However, his eyes were wide open. In his mind, the spear from just now was still there. They had all seen that spear very clearly. That spear seemed to be very simple. Its speed also didn't seem to be very fast. However, everyone remembered that when the spear moved just now, the space had also been distorted. Furthermore, the moment the spear had pierced through the seal from Qinyu's hand, they hadn't seen it clearly at all. It was as if the spear had teleported. Haha, wrong. The domain of an Emperor-level expert. What a joke, what a joke. This is a true domain. Among the 72 Emperor-level experts, one of the young men suddenly laughed out loud. I finally understand. So this is the control of space. This is a domain. That young man flew over to Qinyu and bowed respectfully. Senior, thank you for your spear. This junior has been stuck as a level 6 Devil Emperor for many years. However, in that instant earlier, This junior had understood that this junior now has the confidence to reach the level 9 Devil Emperor level within 100 years. This kid is talking in his sleep. Immediately, someone mocked him from the side. He was certain that he would reach the level 9 Devil Emperor level just by seeing a single spear. That young man still stood respectfully in front of Qingyu. Senior's control of space far surpasses the Dragon Emperor, Peng Demon Emperor and them. It also far surpasses this junior's master. May I ask if Senior is someone from the Divine Realm? This young man was none other than the disciple of the Devil Realm's level 9 Devil Emperor Mo Kong. Usually, under the guidance of Mo Kong, his progress was extremely fast. However, after seeing Qinyu's spear, he discovered that his master's teachings were too shallow. He had also discovered the Great Tao, and was confident that he would reach the level 9 Devil Emperor level within 100 years. Your comprehension ability is truly not bad. However, I am not someone from the Divine Realm, Qingyu said with a light smile. Junior's name is Wulong. May I know who Senior is? This Devil Realm's Wulong said respectfully. Qingyu took a glance at Wulong. He then looked at the other 71 Emperor-level experts. With a light smile he said, "The reason why I broke this seal today was because I couldn't stand the tyrannical behavior of some of the leaders of the immortal, devil and demon realms. From today onwards, it's best that you don't seal this entrance anymore. If I were to discover it the next time, then I will kill all of the people who set up this seal." Those 72 Emperor-level experts all trembled in their hearts. Merely that single spear strike was able to pierce through the seal, like piercing through a paper window. This allowed everyone to know that even the Dragon Emperor and them were no match for the man in front of them. If the man in front of them were to truly want to kill them, these 72 Emperor-level experts were somewhat afraid. Let's forget about it this time. Qinyu's words caused them to heave a sigh of relief. Go back and tell your leaders to stop setting up this seal in the future. I don't like it. Qingyu said coldly. Yes, Senior. How could those 72 Emperor-level experts dare to say anything else? Qingyu took a glance at the 72 people. Then he flew into the entrance. When he passed through the crowd, Qinyu's voice sounded again. You can tell your leaders that my name is Qingyu. It's Qingyu? Most of these Emperor-level experts woke up with a start. When they turned around to look, Qingyu had already disappeared into the misty divine restriction. Senior Qingyu is truly too powerful. Back then, his strength was already comparable to a level 9 immortal emperor. Who would have thought that after not seeing him for so many years, his strength would actually reach such a level? Many people were astonished. As for that devil Dao youth Wulong, he looked at the misty divine illusion restriction and thought in his heart, Senior Qingyu, the grace of your spear strike is comparable to the grace of my master's teachings. Wulong will never forget it. Soon after, Wulong took the lead to leave this place. The other 71 Emperor-level experts also left. Wulong had said that he would be able to reach level 9 Devil Emperor in 100 years. Today, all these Emperor-level experts were laughing at him. However, 100 years later, Wulong had truly become the #1 expert in the Devil Realm. Furthermore, he was most proficient in using spears. Immortal Realm's Crescent Moon Bay. Emperor Liu, who had inherited the Cyan Emperor's position, was currently in a state of shock. In front of him were 5 immortal emperors, who had just returned from the entrance of the Bewitching God Temple. What did you say earlier? Emperor Liu asked again. The leader of the 5 said respectfully, Your Majesty. This subordinate said that not long ago, the 8-9 space sealing array at the entrance of the Bewitching God Temple was broken by a single person using only a single spear. How could that be? Impossible. Emperor Liu was unable to believe it. When the 8-9 space sealing array was successfully set up, the Dragon Emperor, Peng Demon Emperor, Great Ape Emperor and other experts had all tried to attack that 8-9 space sealing array. There were even several powerful experts that joined hands to attack it, but were still unable to do anything to that seal. Your Majesty, you can go and check it out. Furthermore, the other Emperor-level experts that set up the formation array all knew about it. Said that immortal emperor respectfully, Your Majesty, that person that broke the formation array also said that he was not allowed to set up another 8-9 space ceiling array in the future. He said that he could not tolerate such a tyrannical behavior, and that if he were to discover it again, he would slaughter all the people that set up the formation array. Said that immortal emperor. Emperor Lu grew silent. After being silent for a long time, Emperor Lu asked, "Who is the person that broke the formation array?" He said that his name is Qinyu. Said the immortal emperor respectfully, "Qinyu." Emperor Lu's brows were raised. An uncontrollable shock was present in his eyes. The previous Dragon Emperor Ao Fong had already abdicated. The current Dragon Emperor was Ao Wuming. Merely, Ao Wuming currently did not possess an inherited treasure. This was something that Ao Wuming had requested himself. He said that he would only accept the inherited treasure after his imperial father Ao Fong had passed the divine tribulation. Ao Wuming looked at the 14 emperor-level experts under him. These 14 emperor-level experts were precisely the people that went to set up the 8-9 space ceiling array. Hearing what they said, Ao Wuming was still unable to believe it. "Wuming, what happened?" Ao Fong walked into the palace hall. "Imperial father, an expert has broken through the 8-9 space ceiling array. He also said that he was not allowed to seal the entrance again in the future, and that he would slaughter all the people that set up the formation array." Ao Wuming had a slight smile on his face. "Impossible. The Great Ape Emperor and I had both tried to break through the seal. Neither of us was able to break through the seal. Who was able to break through it?" Ao Fong was unable to believe it. "Imperial father, you can ask other people. This is the truth," said Ao Wuming solemnly. Hearing what Ao Wuming said, Ao Fong also became careful. Merely, for there to be someone in the immortal devil and demon realm that was able to break through the 8-9 space ceiling array, this was a huge blow to the Dragon Emperor. "You simply cannot imagine who broke through the formation array," said Ao Wuming with a smile. "Who? The new gold punishment lord of the Dark Star realm?" asked Ao Fong. In his heart, only the number 1 gold punishment lord of the Dark Star realm's 3 great sovereigns could possibly be that person. Ao Wuming shook his head. He smiled and said, "I do not know about the gold punishment lord. However, I know that the person who broke through the formation array is called Qinyu." "Qinyu?" Ao Fong's breath seemed to be stuck. He was unable to speak for a long time. Following the return of the 72 emperor-level experts, the news of Qinyu breaking through the seal was immediately known by all the experts of the 3 realms. The demon realms Pung Demon Emperor, Ox Demon Emperor, Great Ape Emperor and them. The immortal realms Flame Emperor, Mystic Emperor, Emperor Lu and them. The devil realms Blood Devil Emperor, Black Devil Emperor and them. In short, Qinyu's astonishing strength had caused everyone to become afraid. Furthermore, not a single person dared to propose to seal the entrance of the bewitching god temple. Chapter 473. When the 72 emperor-level experts left the entrance of the bewitching god temple and returned to report to their respective leaders, Qinyu himself once again passed through the outer divine illusion restriction and entered the inner courtyard of the bewitching god temple. "Qinyu." A trace of pleasant surprise appeared on Uncle Fu's face. "It's only been a few days and you've already returned. Could it be that you found a way to open the artifacts palace?" Qinyu immediately waved his hand and said with a smile, "How is that possible? It's only been a few days, I haven't made that much progress. The reason why I've come this time is because I have a matter that I need Uncle Fu's help with. As the sole successor of the bewitching god temple, as long as it's something that I can do, I will still be able to help you," said Uncle Fu with a smile. "I wonder if Uncle Fu has any attainments in formations and restrictions?" Qinyu asked expectantly. The reason why Qinyu had come this time was to ensure the safety of his royal father and the others. He thought of the Qinyu Immortal Mansion. However, the restrictions of the Qinyu Immortal Mansion were still too weak for a level 9 Immortal Emperor. Thus, Qinyu thought of Uncle Fu. According to the master of the bewitching god temple, one must have sufficient attainments in formations in order to refine artifacts. As for Uncle Fu, who had followed the master of the bewitching god temple for many years, Qin Yu believed that he should be very proficient in divine restrictions. Qin Yu did not need Uncle Fu to study formations too much. He only needed to add a few more divine restrictions to the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. Qin Yu believed that if he did that, even the Mystic Emperor would not be able to break open the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. Formations and restrictions? Uncle Fu stroked his beard and said with a smile, Qin Yu, you also know that I don't have a soul, and am unable to comprehend the spatial laws. Thus, when I'm bored, I will study some complicated formations. In terms of formations and restrictions, I can't be considered a great expert. However, in the divine realm, I can be considered to be pretty good. Uncle Fu had followed the master of the Bewitching God Temple for countless years. As his body was refined by the master of the Bewitching God Temple, the energy in his body was supplied by the energy stones of the divine realm. Thus, he did not need to cultivate, and spent most of his energy on formations. In terms of formations and restrictions, Uncle Fu could definitely be considered as an expert. However, Qin Yu couldn't tell that Uncle Fu was being modest. Enough. I don't need Uncle Fu to be very powerful. I just need some God's seals with high defensive power, Qin Yu hastily said. At the same time, he flipped his hand to produce a bead. Uncle Fu, this is a bead transformed from an immortal mansion. I want to ask Uncle Fu to help me set up some defensive arrays on this immortal mansion. Qin Yu quickly stated his objective. Uncle Fu looked at Qin Yu in confusion. Qin Yu, what are you doing with this? Could it be that with your current attack power, there's still someone in the immortal devil and demon realm capable of threatening you? No, I'm doing this for my father and brothers. Qin Yu said, I was worried that after I ascended to the God realm, my father and the rest would be attacked by some people. So I wanted to create an immortal estate to protect them. Uncle Fu understood. He immediately patted Qin Yu's shoulder and said confidently, Immortal devil and demon realm? Haha, Fu, am someone who has followed my master and seen the world. The people that I usually befriend are all heavenly deity level experts. Formation arrays and barriers? Although I cannot be considered to be very powerful. But if I were to casually set up a couple of them, then even ordinary deities would not be able to break through them. Qin Yu was immediately overjoyed. Formation arrays and barriers that even ordinary deities would not be able to break through. How could he possibly be afraid of the Mystic Emperor in them? Uncle Fu, thank you. Qin Yu placed the Qingyu Immortal Mansion into the Jianglan's realm. At the same time he said, Uncle Fu, this place is too small. Come with me to the Jianglan's realm, and set up the formation arrays and barriers. The courtyard was not large. In order to set up the formation arrays, one must change back to one's original appearance. Uncle Fu was the housekeeper of the Bewitching God Temple, and Qin Yu was the sole successor of the Bewitching God Temple. Thus, Qin Yu did not mind letting Uncle Fu know about the existence of the Jianglan's realm. Jianglan's realm? Uncle Fu was unable to refrain his shock. He then smiled and said, It sounds like a spatial divine artifact. Extraordinary. Good, let me go and have a look. With an intention from Qin Yu, Uncle Fu, who did not resist, entered into the Jianglan's realm. Inside the first space of the Jianglan's realm, a palace appeared out of thin air on a meadow. It was the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. As for Qin Yu and Uncle Fu, they were standing in the air. Uncle Fu looked to his surroundings in amazement. He sensed the elemental spirit energy contained within the Jianglan's realm, and exclaimed in admiration. Truly amazing. It's actually able to allow the elemental spirit energy from the outside world to enter the divine artifact. Furthermore, it seems that this realm is also boundless. The person who created this spatial divine artifact, his strength is definitely not inferior to my master's. Uncle Fu still did not know that the Jianglan's realm was actually separated into 3 spaces. The flow of time in each space was different. If Uncle Fu were to know that the time in the Jianglan's realm could be changed, then he would likely be even more shocked. Well then, it's been a long time since I've set up formation arrays. My heart is itching, said Uncle Fu with a beaming smile. At the same time, he flew toward the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. Qin Yu, remove all of the previous barriers. Evidently, Uncle Fu did not care about the barriers that immortal Emperor and I Yang had set up. Qin Yu was unable to refrain himself from smiling. Uncle Fu is indeed Uncle Fu. The butler of the #1 artifact craftsman in the divine realm is also not to be looked down upon. Immediately, Qin Yu removed all of the barriers from the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. At this moment, the Qingyu Immortal Mansion did not have any barriers. It allowed Uncle Fu to set them up. There's no need for powerful barriers in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Let's relax a bit. Uncle Fu extended both of his hands. At the same time, 10 rays of light shot out from his 10 fingers. The 10 rays of light either intersected, fused together, or formed various peculiar symbols. In the end, they formed a strange net that completely enveloped the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. Defense, attack and illusion barriers, all of them are the same. Uncle Fu slightly nodded. He then closed his eyes. His 10 fingers would occasionally snap, and occasionally form hand seals. The formation arrays and barriers were integrated into the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. After about an hour, Qin Yu had been quietly watching from the side the entire time. However, Qin Yu had to admit that he did not understand at all. When immortal emperor-level experts set up barriers, he was still able to barely understand them. However, when Uncle Fu set them up, they appeared to be very easy and simple. However, Qin Yu was unable to understand them. Why would those peculiar symbols and seals combine together to form a divine barrier? It's done. Uncle Fu smiled as he flew back to Qin Yu's side. Uncle Fu, how are the barriers of the Qingyu Immortal Mansion? Qin Yu hurriedly asked. Uncle Fu said confidently, I did not spend too much effort or energy. After all, my energy came from the Divine Spirit Crystal Soul. I set up a total of 3 divine barriers. One is an attack barrier, one is a defense barrier, and one is an illusion barrier. These illusion barriers are at least stronger than the lowest level illusion barriers in the outer area of the Bewitching God Temple, said Uncle Fu. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile. The illusion barriers of the Bewitching God Temple. If one did not possess the Bewitching God painting, no one would be able to break through them. The ones in the Bewitching God Temple were only the lowest level illusion barriers. However, the ordinary divine illusion barriers that Uncle Fu set up were even stronger. As for this defensive barrier, ordinary deities would not be able to break through it. Compared to the seal that you broke with your divine spear Waning Snow, its defense is much stronger. If you were to use your divine spear Waning Snow, you should be able to break through it with your full strength, said Uncle Fu. Qin Yu smiled in satisfaction. With such a powerful defensive barrier, how could he not be satisfied? As for the attack barrier, it can only attack the people inside the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. The barrier is unable to attack the people outside. This attack power could not be considered strong. Ordinary level 9 immortal emperors should not be able to block it. However, if it's someone who possesses a heavenly divine artifact or a grand mist spiritual treasure, then it's hard to say, said Uncle Fu honestly. However, Qin Yu did not mind in the slightest. Attack barrier? Haha, there shouldn't be any need for that. I will instruct my royal father to not allow any outsiders to enter it, Qin Yu said with a smile. Furthermore, there are not many people in the immortal, devil and demon realm that possess heavenly divine artifacts and grand mist spiritual treasures. Saying till here, Qin Yu thought of the 3 emperors of the demon realm and the 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm. The inherited treasures of the Prung Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor were clearly stronger than divine artifacts. They ought to be heavenly divine artifacts or grand mist spiritual treasures. As for the inherited treasures of the 3 great sovereigns of the dark star realm, they ought to also be heavenly divine artifacts or grand mist spiritual treasures. The Qingyu Immortal Mansion with the 3 great divine barriers had caused Qin Yu to be extremely excited. After thanking Uncle Fu, Qin Yu directly left the Bewitching God Temple. The reason why Qin Yu wanted to break through the seal this time around was because of 2 reasons. The second reason was because the passage title plate that the 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star Realm had given him back then contained too little energy. Thus, the number of times that the seal had been opened was also very small. Thus, Qingyu could only break through the seal and enter the Qingyu immortal mansion. As for breaking through the seal, Qingyu's choice was the seal on the entrance to the demon realm. After leaving the bewitching god temple, Qingyu rapidly rushed toward the Fish Sun Star. Flowing Spring Galaxy Fish Sun Star. Inside a room of the Qin clan's luxurious manor. Inside the room were only Qingyu, Qinda and Qinfeng. Is this Qingyu immortal mansion really as you said? Qinda looked at Qingyu with disbelief. In the period of time where Qingyu had disappeared, Qinda, Qinfeng, and them were all guessing what exactly Qingyu had done. Never did they expect that upon his return, Qingyu would give them such an enormous shock. Qinfeng also looked at Qingyu. Little you, is there really such a powerful barrier? That shouldn't be possible. Big brother, royal father, please rest assured. The reason why I left this time around was to ask for the help of an expert from the divine realm. The barrier on top of it is a divine barrier. Its power is so great that even the people from the immortal devil and demon realm are unable to enter it. Qingyu said with absolute certainty. Royal father, you should quickly refine the core of this Qingyu immortal mansion, the elemental spirit soul essence. In the future, this Qingyu immortal mansion will belong to you, royal father. Qinda looked at Qingyu with gratification. To be honest, royal father is truly terrified right now. As he said that, Qinda even laughed at himself. Divine barrier. I did not even dare to think about it. As he said that, Qinda sighed several times. As a father, seeing his son being so outstanding and surpassing his imagination time and time again, what else could he say? He could only be proud of his son. Royal father, little you, I think we should place the Qingyu immortal mansion on another planet. Most of our Qin clan's people should also be moved there. As for the Fish Sun Star, we only need to leave a few people there. Knowing about the grudges between you and the Mystic Emperor, I am also unable to feel at ease. Qinfeng said. Hearing that, Qingyu muttered to himself for a moment and said, I agree. This flowing spring galaxy is the territory of the Mystic Emperor. As for the galaxy to the west of the flowing spring galaxy, the blazing sun galaxy is the territory of the immortal realm's flame emperor. It would be safer to go there. Good. Let's set it on a planet in the blazing sun galaxy. Qinda nodded and said. After that, Qinda began to refine the elemental spirit soul essence. Inside the 9 amplifications sect. Inside the elegant palace that belonged to the Mystic Emperor, the 9 amplifications sect master bowed and said, Your Majesty, currently, the majority of the Qin clan's people have already left the Fish Sun Star. According to the information of those female disciples that married into the Qin clan, they have arrived on the blazing sun galaxy's Virtue Residence Star. Virtue Residence Star. The corners of the Mystic Emperor's mouth were slightly raised. His gaze contained a trace of a smile. Indeed, it was as I had thought. This Qingyu was indeed worried about me, and had moved his clan to another place. The Mystic Emperor turned around, and looked at the 9 amplifications sect master. Although the majority of the Qin clan's people have left, there is still a portion of them, right? Treat these people of the Qin clan like before. You do not need to concern yourself with other matters. You can withdraw now. Yes, Your Majesty. Although the 9 amplifications sect master was confused as to what exactly the Mystic Emperor wanted to do, he had never said anything. The Mystic Emperor had a smile on his face. He said softly, Qingyu, how would you know that I had never planned to kill your entire family? However, for you to do this, it is clear that you fear me. It would seem that my plan should succeed. Blazing Sun Galaxy, Virtue Residence Star. Qingyu had purchased a mountain range on the Virtue Residence Star. This included the several palaces on top of the mountain range. With Qingyu's current wealth, it was extremely easy for him to purchase a mountain range. Thus, these several palaces became the residence of the Qin clan's people. As for the Qingyu Immortal Mansion, it was arranged to be located in a ravine within the mountain range. Some of the important members of the Qin clan would usually reside in the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. At the same time, the Qin clan had also purchased several thousand servants on the Virtue Residence Star. Ho Fei, Kuro, Bai Ling, Haitong, and a large number of other people had also come out from the Jianglan's realm. They were also in the Qing clan. After all, there were a lot of them. These days, they had been very relaxed. In a blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Qi. The black spearhead tore through the space. With an unparalleled aura. It was pierced toward Qin Yu like a lightning from the heavenly deity. However, Qin Yu merely lightly waved his right hand, and broke this attack with a gentle force. Kuro, the heaven-startling single-stick strike is hard to learn. Your heaven-startling single spear is also hard to learn. Qin Yu consoled. With Qin Yu's insight, he was naturally able to determine that this spear strike of Kuro's had not reached the quintessence of the heaven-startling single-stick strike. Big brother, I am unable to endure it anymore. Didn't that great ape emperor also know the heaven-startling three-stick strikes? Isn't his status on par with the Peng Demon Emperor? Furthermore, this Kuro battle armor of mine, its defense is definitely comparable to that of a high-quality divine artifact. My movement technique is also superior to the great ape emperor's. The cloud-piercing spear that Uncle Lan gave me is also extremely powerful. I ought to be able to kill the Peng Demon Emperor. Kuro was a bit impatient. The hatred of killing one's parents was absolutely irreconcilable. Your speed is still inferior to the Peng Demon Emperor's. Qin Yu sighed. Seeing Kuro's expression, Qin Yu knew that he would not be able to persuade Kuro. Immediately he said, "Okay, since you've requested it like this, I'll allow you to go and find the Peng Demon Emperor for revenge." Chapter 474. Kuro and Qin Yu were arguing. However, Hou Fei stood to the side and did not say anything the entire time. Instead, his gaze was somewhat melancholic. "Fei, what's wrong?" Qin Yu looked to Hou Fei with a puzzled expression. Hou Fei was usually very carefree. It was very rare for him to be this calm and melancholic. Hou Fei smiled bitterly and said, "Mixed hair bird, earlier you said that you wanted to take revenge. Only now did I remember. At least you know about your parents. However, what about me? Even now, I still don't know about my parents. Or perhaps, do I have parents?" Ever since he was able to understand things, Hou Fei had followed Uncle Lan the entire time. Although Uncle Lan was nominally his master, he had only taught him a few times. Hou Fei had also been carefree the entire time. Only occasionally, he would think about his origins. "Monkey, don't be sad. You're a fiery-eyed water ape, not born from the world. You definitely have parents. For you to not know about your parents, it means that your parents might still be alive. At least it's a bit better than me." Kuro sighed deeply and said. Kuro looked to Qin Yu. "Big brother, I've been with you since I was young. I've considered you to be my family. However, no matter what, I was unable to cover up the fact that my parents were killed by the Peng Demon Emperor." Kuro took a deep breath. His gaze turned sharp. "This time, I will definitely kill the Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yin with my own hands and avenge my parents. The only thing that I'm worried about right now is that Peng Demon Emperor would rely on his speed to escape and refuse to fight me." Kuro started to frown. Kuro knew his own limitations. He knew that when compared to the Peng Demon Emperor, his speed was far inferior. "You can rest assured about this." Qin Yu comforted him. "Big brother, you want to?" Kuro and Hou Fei looked to Qin Yu in confusion. Qin Yu nodded and smiled. "No matter what, that Peng Demon Emperor would still fight you head-on. You can rest assured about this." Half a month later, Qin Yu and his two brothers, who had changed their appearances, arrived at the core planet of the bird clan in the demon realm, Black Crow Planet. In the air above the Black Crow Planet, Qin Yu and his two brothers stood side by side. "Big brother, how is it?" Hou Fei and Kuro both looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu's divine sense had completely covered the entire Black Crow star. It had even seeped into the core of the Black Crow star. Nothing on the entire Black Crow star could escape Qin Yu's detection. "No, that Peng Demon Emperor is simply not on the Black Crow star," said Qin Yu with a frown. "Not here." Hou Fei and Kuro frowned. Qin Yu gazed at the imperial city in the distance as he pondered. Under normal circumstances, the Peng Demon Emperor would not leave the imperial city of the Black Crow star. However, for him to leave right now, it was most likely because of the three of them. The spear that he used to break the seal might also be one of the reasons. You all wait here for a moment, I'll go to the Imperial City, Qin Yu suddenly said. After he finished saying that, Qin Yu immediately disappeared. When he reappeared, he was outside of the Imperial City's entrance. At this moment, there were people coming out of the Imperial City's eastern gate. The passageway was open. The space where the passageway was located suddenly started to distort. When those guards of the Imperial City were shocked, the space had returned to normal. As for Qin Yu, he had already seized this opportunity to enter the Imperial City. On the streets outside of the Imperial Palace, people were coming and going. Qin Yu looked to the Imperial Palace in front of him. Aoku is currently the strongest person in the Imperial City. He shall be the one. Qin Yu lightly smiled, and then disappeared from the streets. Inside the Imperial Palace's private room, Aoku was quietly training. Back then, when he fought against Qin Yu, one of his true bodies was forcibly destroyed by Qin Yu. This caused Aoku's strength to sharply decrease by half. All these years, he had been trying his best to train and recover. And now, his strength was about to catch up to his strength from back then. Qin Yu, you've destroyed one of my true bodies. This hatred must be avenged. Aoku opened his eyes. His heart was filled with hatred. However, he still knew about the news of Qin Yu breaking the seal of the bewitching god temple a few days ago. With Aoku's strength, it was impossible for him to avenge Qin Yu. Aoku, what are you thinking about? A familiar voice suddenly sounded from behind him. This voice had appeared in his dreams time and time again. Aoku suddenly turned around. He saw Qin Yu standing in the private room with a smile on his face. Qin Yu? Aoku didn't know what to say. I don't have time to waste with you. Qin Yu smiled indifferently. Aoku felt that when Qin Yu smiled, the entire world started to spin. His mind started to become muddled. Soon after, he no longer knew anything. Devil Path's secret skill. Bewitching soul. With Qin Yu's current soul cultivation, it was extremely easy for him to use the bewitching soul on Aoku. Aoku, where did the Peng Demon Emperor Zhongyan go? Qin Yu directly asked. Aoku had a lifeless expression on his face. He said foolishly and mechanically, His Majesty Peng Demon Emperor had left the Black Crow Star half a year ago. He said that he had an important matter and wanted me to send him a transmission. No one knows where he is. Hearing such an answer, Qin Yu was unable to refrain himself from becoming angry. Suddenly, Qin Yu's eyes shined. He said, Send a transmission? How do you send a transmission? Do you use the transmission secret array? Or do you not use the transmission secret array? Whether or not the transmission secret array was used, it also indicated how far away the Peng Demon Emperor was. His Majesty strictly ordered me to use the secret messaging formation and to send a message every half a month to report the situation. However, there was one time when I didn't use the secret messaging formation, and His Majesty received my message. Aoku explained everything mechanically. Hearing such an answer, Qin Yu smiled. Strictly ordered to use the transmission secret array? Isn't this just to confuse people? To be able to receive it without using the transmission secret array, it would appear that this Peng Demon Emperor ought to be not far from the Black Crow Star. He should be in the same star field. Qin Yu was extremely certain in his heart. Well then, as for the adorable Aoku, as the accomplice in the death of Bai Xian, I'll leave you to Xiaohei Bai Ling in them. With an intention, Qin Yu took Aoku into the first layer space of the Jianglan's realm. Qin Yu and his brothers began to search the surrounding planets of the Black Crow Star. With Qin Yu's current divine awareness's search range, his speed was naturally extremely fast. In that star field, Qin Yu did not sleep or rest. On the 6th day of his search, he finally discovered traces of the Peng Demon Emperor. This was a desolate planet. As it was relatively close to the star, its surface temperature was extremely high. There was only desolate sand and rocks on this planet. There was simply no life. Had it been during normal times, no one would stay here. However, below the surface of this desolate planet was a cave. There was someone quietly training inside the cave. Qin Yu and his brothers were currently on the surface of this desolate planet. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. Big brother, this Peng Demon Emperor's soul is still only at the level 8 Demon Emperor level. Even Mixed Hair Bird and I were able to easily discover him. Ho Fei laughed mischievously. Qin Yu nodded. Kuro's eyes shone with a cold light. He said in a low and deep voice, "Father, mother, I have never seen you before. However, I know that even if the two of you were to die, you would still break open the space and protect my life. Today, I shall avenge the two of you." Yo! A mournful bird cry sounded from Kuro's mouth. That bird cry was extremely resounding. It actually formed a clear spatial ripple. With Kuro as the center, that ripple started to spread in all directions. Grabbing the cloud-piercing spear with one hand, Kuro's body rushed into the ground. Following a diagonal line, Kuro had actually pierced through an underground tunnel. The target of this underground tunnel was precisely the Peng Demon Emperor, who was underground. During the process of piercing through the ground, Ho Fei's appearance also started to change greatly. Sharp and ice-cold black feathers started to appear on the surface of his body. He started to transform into his battle form. Someone's here. Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan, who was meditating, was suddenly woken up by that resounding bird cry. He opened his eyes. Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan's demon awareness immediately discovered a frightening aura rapidly rushing toward him. Without saying anything, Zhong Yan's body soared into the sky with a whoosh sound. Bang! Explosions sounded unceasingly. Zhong Yan directly broke through layers upon layers of underground rocks and rushed out from the surface of his body. Trying to escape, Kuro's trajectory suddenly changed. He started to fly upward at an extremely fast speed. Wherever his body passed, his feathers that were as sharp as a high-quality divine artifact easily tore apart the obstacles in front of him. The Peng Demon Emperor stood in the air. His entire body was shining with a golden light. The golden crown on his head was even more dazzling. He did not escape. As the Peng Demon Emperor, it was absolutely impossible for him to escape without fighting. After all, he, the Peng Demon Emperor, was one of the top experts in the immortal devil and demon realm. Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan was curious. Who exactly is this person? Bang! Sand and stones splattered. The appearance of the person who came was finally revealed. A scale armor formed by black feathers. On his forehead was a black feather scale that added a trace of coldness. His pair of eyes filled with hatred appeared, as if they were about to spew out flames of anger. Kuro! Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan was shocked. He was shocked to discover that the person in front of him, who he was unable to see through, was actually Kuro. Even he was unable to see through him. Could it be that in merely 3,000 plus years, Kuro had reached level 9 Demon Emperor? Die! Kuro only managed to squeeze out this word. Like a volcanic eruption, that spear strike contained Kuro's endless anger. At this moment, the black-colored cloud-piercing spear seemed to have turned into a bloodthirsty spear of anger. It ripped apart the space and instantly arrived in front of the Peng Demon Emperor. Humph! Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan sneered. He raised his hands that were covered with a layer of golden light to block the incoming spear. Cloud-piercing spear against golden hands. Bang! A frightening wave of air spread in all directions. The exchange of blows between the two had caused the entire desolate planet to tremble. At their level, destroying a planet was also an extremely easy task. Kuro's spear merely slightly trembled. The golden crown on Zhong Yan's head started to shine. The golden light on the surface of Zhong Yan's hands also started to tremble. Zhong Yan's expression changed. He immediately flew back. With a graceful arc, he arrived far away. Zhong Yan stood far away and looked at Kuro. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Kuro, when did you become this strong? Furthermore, is this spear a high-quality divine artifact? Zhong Yan asked several questions in a single breath. Once you're dead, you'll be fine. Kuro gnashed his teeth and said. He then once again charged toward Zhong Yan. A single spear strike had reached the limit that the inherited treasure could withstand. If I were to use my ultimate move, then I might be able to fight against him. However, this Kuro still has a brother. Zhong Yan glanced toward the distance. Sure enough, There was a person in the distant sky. It was Qin Yu, who had been watching the battle the entire time. Qin Yu's spear strike had broken the seal on the bewitching god temple's entrance. That was a seal that even the Dragon Emperor and the others were helpless against. Qin Yu's attack was clearly stronger than the Dragon Emperor's. No matter what, Zhong Yan did not dare to fight against Qin Yu. Flee. Zhong Yan's figure elegantly drew a beautiful arc. In an instant he had arrived far away. Humph. In terms of speed, how could you possibly be my match? What's the use of having a strong attack power? You won't be able to hit me. Zhong Yan sneered in his heart. He was filled with confidence in his own speed. Zhong Yan did not dare to use greater teleportation, because he was affected by the earlier battle. However, Zhong Yan suddenly discovered that a staff image had appeared in front of him. The staff image was too fast. Its attack power was definitely not inferior to Kuroa's spear strike. Zhong Yan was simply unable to dodge it. Zhong Yan had no choice but to use his hands to block it. Black staff against golden hands. Bang! Zhong Yan's hands were numb from the impact. A mouthful of blood rushed from his chest to his throat. TSK, this marquis has already been waiting for you on the side. You still want to escape? Haha. Ho Fei held the black staff in his hand and laughed loudly. Actually, Qin Yu and Ho Fei were on the two sides. They were both using their soul's power to observe the situation. Once the Prung Demon Emperor tried to escape, they would use their soul's power to observe him. Furthermore, they would send people to intercept him. Your strength is pretty good. However, what about your speed? Zhong Yan's figure instantly turned into a blur. He fluttered about repeatedly. In an instant, he had shaken off Ho Fei and rushed toward the outer space. Fuck, if you have the ability, then don't try to escape. Ho Fei was furious. Seeing the irritable Ho Fei behind him who was unable to catch up to him, Zhong Yan felt a burst of pride. These Qin Yu and his brothers are each stronger than the other. Especially that Qin Yu. However, in terms of speed, none of them are able to catch up to me. Right when Zhong Yan felt that he had entered the tranquil region of the outer space and was preparing to use greater teleportation. What's going on? Zhong Yan was shocked. At this moment, he felt as if he had sunk into a quagmire. His speed that he was so proud of had suddenly decreased by several tens of times. The surrounding space seemed to have a consciousness and was oppressing him. And at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Qin Yu. Seeing the black-clothed youth in front of him, Zhong Yan couldn't help but feel a burst of fear. If one were to ask who among the three Qin Yu brothers was whom he didn't want to fight the most, it would be the Qin Yu in front of him. To be able to break open the seal of the bewitching god temple with a single spear strike, no one would be willing to fight against such a person. Isn't your speed fast? Aren't you very good at escaping? Why don't you try to escape? Qin Yu said in a low voice. The relaxed and graceful feeling that he had in the past had disappeared. Currently, the entire space was distorted and oppressing him. Zhong Yan knew that the speed that he was so proud of was now useless. What's going on? Zhong Yan tried his best to fly rapidly. However, Qin Yu who was beside him was able to easily catch up to him. Zhong Yan's face had turned red. Sweat had also seeped out from his forehead. And at this moment, Ho Fei and Kuro also flew to Qin Yu's side with a speed much faster than Zhong Yan's. The three brothers stood side by side. They looked at the Pung Demon Emperor, who was in a panic. Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yan felt the oppression from his surroundings. He then looked to Qin Yu and his brothers in front of him. He suddenly felt that he seemed to have reached a dead end. Fuck, aren't you able to escape? Why don't you try to escape again? Ho Fei said in a teasing manner. Suddenly, a stick silhouette smashed down. Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yan wanted to dodge. However, he had lost his agility from before. That stick strike landed on his head. Bang! An incomparably sharp sound. Chapter 475. Zhong Yan looked at the three people in front of him with grief and indignation. Among the three of them, Ho Fei's eyes were filled with ridicule. Kuroa's eyes were bursting with flames of anger. Only Qin Yu had a tranquil expression. Will I be able to keep my life this time around? Zhong Yan had already started to despair. He raised his head and took a glance at Qin Yu. Zhong Yan understood in his heart that the reason why he was unable to escape this time around was because of Qin Yu. Although he was still unable to understand what sort of method Qin Yu used to cause the space to oppress him. However, Zhong Yan couldn't help but become even more afraid of this Qin Yu. After ascending for several hundred years, his strength was comparable to a level 9 immortal emperor. After that, Qin Yu disappeared for over 3,000 years. His accomplishments in over 3,000 years, just imagining it would cause one to tremble in fear. Big brother, Zhong Yan is someone who would stop at nothing. Those who obstruct him, he would ruthlessly take care of them. Didn't you hear what that Aoku said? Zhong Yan is an absolutely selfish scum, who only cares about himself. Fuck, I might as well smash his soul with my stick. Hou Fei fiercely stared at Zhong Yan. That black stick of his seemed to be prepared to be smashed out. Zhong Yan's heart was immediately shaken. Am I going to die? Zhong Yan immediately recalled everything that he had experienced in his entire life. Zhong Yan's character was that he would rather betray the people of the world than have the people of the world betray him. Those who went against him were all wrong and were his enemies. Only at this moment did Zhong Yan feel a burst of disappointment and frustration. If I were to die, I reckon that no one would be sad. Qin Yu and Kuro glanced at each other. Qin Yu spoke. Zhong Yan, I'll give you a chance to live. Qin Yu's voice immediately caused Zhong Yan's eyes to shine. He raised his head and looked at Qin Yu. Seeing Qin Yu's slight smile, Zhong Yan felt a burst of humiliation. He slightly raised his chin and coldly said, Qin Yu, if you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't you dare humiliate me. Qin Yu nodded in his heart. As the Peng Demon Emperor, this Zhong Yan possessed a bit of pride. I won't humiliate you. Qin Yu smiled indifferently. I'm sure you've also seen it. Not to mention my second brother and third brother. I alone can easily kill you. And in front of me, you can't run at all. Zhong Yan, am I right? Zhong Yan nodded and said, Qin Yu, your strength is sufficient to convince me. It is indeed impossible for me to escape from you. If I die in your hands, I will only think that I am not strong enough. Since you can't escape, then the opportunity I'll give you is to fight openly with my third brother Kuro. Since you defeated my third brother, I will spare your life. If my third brother defeats you, your fate will be decided by my third brother Kuro. In the process of your killing, second brother Hou Fei, and I will absolutely not interfere. What do you think? Qin Yu suggested. Although it was said to be his suggestion, it was actually a suggestion that Kuro sent to Qin Yu via voice transmission. Kuro wanted to avenge his parents. If he were to rely on Qin Yu, then no matter what, Kuro would not be able to be happy. Only by killing this Zhong Yan in a head-on battle would he be able to make him feel that he had not let his parents down. A head-on battle against Kuro? Zhong Yan narrowed his eyes. Kuro looked to Zhong Yan coldly. Zhong Yan, what's wrong? Could it be that the Grand Peng Demon Emperor is afraid of me? Zhong Yan sneered in his heart. The reason why he was at a disadvantage when fighting against Kuro earlier was because he did not use his inherited treasure. If he were to fight against Kuro by himself, Zhong Yan believed that he would still have some certainty in winning. Good, I agree. Zhong Yan also sneered as he looked to Kuro. He then glanced at Qin Yu. Qin Yu, you must remember that you and that Hou Fei are not allowed to interfere. Of course. Qin Yu nodded. However, I am worried that you might escape. Thus, I have you come to my place and fight against my third brother. Right now, I am preparing to absorb you into my place. Do not resist. Qin Yu said. Sure. Zhong Yan was very straightforward. When he was unable to even control his own life, how could he possibly be afraid of Qin Yu? There was also no need for Qin Yu to use any tricks. Absorb. With an intention from Qin Yu, Zhong Yan disappeared. Zhong Yan immediately disappeared from the outer space and entered the first layer space of the Jianglan's realm. What Zhong Yan did not know was that after Qin Yu absorbed him into the Jianglan's realm, he had no intention of letting him out. Inside the first layer space of the Jianglan's realm. This is a spatial divine artifact? Zhong Yan was dumbstruck as he saw everything before him. Originally, He had thought that Qin Yu had absorbed him into the Qing Yu immortal mansion. Never had he expected that it was actually a space. Zhong Yan did not believe that Qin Yu was able to control a space. The only explanation he could think of was that it was a spatial divine artifact. What's wrong? Do you have any objections? At the moment when Zhong Yan was shocked, Qin Yu and his two brothers appeared beside him. Zhong Yan took a glance at Qin Yu. He felt that Qin Yu was even more unfathomable. Thus he replied, I have no objections. The rules of this battle shall be decided by Qin Yu. Good. Since no one has any objections, then let's begin the battle. As for the battlefield, it shall be that space. Qin Yu casually waved his hand. A cuboid space that was 100 meters long was isolated. With a casual wave of his hand, a small space was isolated. This method once again shocked Zhong Yan. Let's go in. With a thought from Qin Yu, Kuro and Zhong Yan entered the 100-meter-long cube space. After entering, Zhong Yan attempted to use his energy to touch the edges of the cube space. However, who would have thought that the cube space was so tough that it was impossible to break through? Seeing this scene, Qin Yu let out a faint smile. Rise! Qin Yu pointed at the ground. Immediately, the surface of the ground split open. At the same time, a tall mountain began to emerge from the ground. In the blink of an eye, a tall mountain appeared on the ground. Fei, let's go to the top of the mountain to watch the battle. The view there is just nice. Qin Yu said with a smile. At the same time, he flew to the top of the mountain. Ho Fei also flew over. With a face filled with laughter, he said, Big brother, you truly know how to enjoy life. The two brothers stood side by side on the top of the mountain. They looked at the two people in the cube space not far away. Unless the victor is determined, the battle cannot stop. Qin Yu said in a clear voice. Zhong Yan, Kuro, the two of you listen carefully. The space that you two have to battle is only so big. It's very simple to determine the victor. The first is to admit defeat, and the second is to have one of you killed. Well then, the two of you can begin. Right after Qin Yu said those words, the two people in the 100-meter-long cube space were staring at each other. Their auras were rising unceasingly. Big brother, when you said to have them fight each other head-on, it appeared to be fair. However, to have them fight each other in such a small space, this is clearly favoring mixed-hair bird. Ho Fei immediately saw through the reason why Qin Yu had set the battle space to be so small. The cube was only 100 meters long. If an expert like the Peng Demon Emperor were to unleash his maximum speed, it was likely that with a single movement of his body, he would be able to travel several millions to tens of millions of miles. However, this place was only 100 meters, 100 meters small space. The Peng Demon Emperor's astonishing speed was completely useless. In this place, flexibility was the most important. Kuro's flexibility in close combat was definitely not inferior to the Peng Demon Emperor's. This was precisely what suppressed the Peng Demon Emperor's greatest reliance. We cannot talk about fairness. Say the Peng Demon Emperor has trained for so many years, whereas Xiaohe has only trained for several thousand years. To have them fight each other, is this fair? The Peng Demon Emperor possesses the inherited treasure of the Peng clan, whereas Xiaohe does not. Is this fair? Thus we cannot talk about fairness. I am merely helping them slightly. After all, that inherited treasure's effect is not merely speed. Qin Yu's gaze was fixed on the cube space. Stop talking, the battle has begun. Ho Fei immediately also looked toward the cube space. Within the cube space, the two people stood facing each other in the air. My father Fang Chong was killed by you, right? Kuro's voice was cold. You know about it? Zhong Yan was shocked. He had thought that Kuro did not know about it at all. Back then, when Qin Yu and them eavesdropped on Kuro's background, it was in the Jianglan's realm. This was something that Zhong Yan also did not know about. Furthermore, not long ago, when Kuro, Qin Yu and Ho Fei were teaching Aoku a lesson, they had learned about it from Aoku. You killed my parents, then between you and I, only one of us can live today. Kuro's eyes instantly turned red. At the same time, black feathers appeared on his body. The black feather scale on his forehead was flickering with an ice-cold light. Merely, Zhong Yan had a ridiculing smile on his face. A little vile spawn like you also wants to kill me? A mercury-like golden liquid was circulating on the surface of Zhong Yan's body. The golden crown on his head was emitting a dazzling light. I'll let you know why this golden crown is called the inherited treasure of the Peng clan. After he finished saying that, Zhong Yan's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Kuro. To these two great experts, a distance of several tens of meters was simply nothing. Chi. That pair of golden claws seemed to pierce through space and directly pierce through Kuro's chest. However, the strange thing was, Kuro actually did not shed a single drop of blood. After an instant, this Kuro, whose chest had been pierced through, turned into nothingness. So it was actually an afterimage. Hundreds of afterimages filled the entire cubic space. Among the hundreds of afterimages, sometimes more than half had Kuro's appearance. Sometimes more than half had Zhong Yan's appearance. Sometimes more than half had the appearance of a person. Sometimes, it's useless to be too fast. In the blink of an eye, he can travel several tens of millions of li. However, is he able to completely unleash this kind of speed in close combat? Ho Fei commented from the side. Qin Yu nodded his head in secret. Zhong Yan's maximum speed was extremely high. Kuro's maximum speed was much lower than his. However, in such a close combat, there was simply no need to use that kind of speed. Zhong Yan's golden claws once again grabbed onto Kuro's waist. Originally, Zhong Yan thought that it was an afterimage. However, the instant he grabbed onto Kuro's waist, he realized that it was Kuro's actual body. Zhong Yan was overjoyed. He planned to take this opportunity to seriously injure Kuro. However, at this moment, Zhong Yan saw a pair of red eyes filled with anger and a black spear. Even if he were to seriously injure himself, he would still kill Zhong Yan. Kuro's greatest reliance was his Kuro battle armor's powerful defense. Die! The cloud-piercing spear was like a dragon leaving its cave. It suddenly arrived before Zhong Yan's eyes. It was only a palm's distance away from his face. Ah! The terrified Zhong Yan roared. The golden crown on his head immediately turned from golden to blood red. It was as if blood was about to drip out from it. As for the golden light flowing through Zhong Yan's body, it immediately turned into blood-red light. Flying backwards, Zhong Yan's speed immediately reached an unprecedented limit. He disregarded everything and flew backwards. The speed at which he flew backwards was even faster than the speed at which the spear was thrusting towards him. Although Zhong Yan managed to dodge the spear, he was unable to stop the spear in an instant. After all, the space within which they were fighting was too small. Slow down, slow down. Zhong Yan had just dodged the spear and knew that he had encountered another crisis. The boundary of the cubic space. If he were to charge forward at full speed, the impact would definitely cause him to be seriously injured. However, it was only a distance of several tens of meters. With his extreme speed, it would only take him a single thought. Bang! Zhong Yan's entire body smashed fiercely onto the cubic space's boundary. However, this boundary was unprecedentedly hard. The sound of bones shattering could be heard. Pooh! Zhong Yan fell to the ground and vomited several mouthfuls of blood. Kuro immediately seized the opportunity to charge forward again. However, Zhong Yan fiercely glared at Kuro. Then he actually began to dodge unceasingly. From this moment onwards, Zhong Yan would no longer fight head-on against Kuro. The two of them were unceasingly displaying their agility. One was the golden-winged Rock Emperor. The other was the son of the Dark Lightning Rock Emperor and the Eagle race. This was a confrontation between a super-divine beast and a variation super-divine beast. Qin Yu and Ho Fei focused their mental powers. In terms of agility in close combat, the Beast Clan and the Dragon Clan were simply inferior to the Bird Clan. As for the Bird Clan, the two super-divine beasts of the Rock Clan were the most agile. Afterimages. One afterimage after another. More and more afterimages appeared, filling up the entire cubic space. If one's strength was lacking, one would not even be able to tell how many afterimages there were. That was because at every moment, a large amount of afterimages would appear and disappear. Ah! Zhong Yan, if you have the ability, I will fight you head-on. Kuro's roar resounded within the cubic space. using one strong point to attack the enemy's weak point. This is the way to victory. Zhong Yin merely replied, and did not say anything else. A furious and mournful cry was heard. Qin Yu's complexion changed. It seems that Xiao He is extremely furious. During the time that he was with Xiao He, the number of times that Xiao He let out such a furious cry was extremely rare. For example, when his royal father was undergoing the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation, he had perished together with the enemy. Xiao He was the same. 36 overlapping waves. It's actually used like this? Hou Fei said in astonishment. In an instant, the cubic space was filled with many black stick afterimages. That was the spear move that Kuro used with his cloud-piercing spear. This move was something that the great ape emperor used against me a long time ago. Zhong Yin felt disdain in his heart. No, it's not 36 overlapping waves. Qin Yu's eyes shined. Qin Yu's insight was clearly much higher than Hou Fei's. He was also able to see the true meaning contained within those countless stick afterimages. Not only were there 36 stick afterimages, there were at least over 100 of them. The entire space was filled with stick afterimages. Yo! A mournful cry sounded. Kuro appeared to have gone crazy. His eyes were wide open and scarlet red. The corners of his eyes appeared to have been torn apart. His entire aura soared to the heavens. The stick afterimages that filled the entire space naturally came into contact with Zhong Yin. However, Zhong Yin didn't care about it. His power had been divided into over 100 parts. How could a single part of it possibly injure him? It's not 36 overlapping waves? Hou Fei was still puzzled by what Qin Yu had said earlier. Qin Yu was suddenly overjoyed. It's the heaven-startling single stick strike. The countless stick afterimages instantly started to overlap and formed a black spear. In an instant earlier, the spear was still several tens of meters away. However, in the next instant, the spear had already arrived before the Peng Emperor's head with a might that could split mountains and sink seas. Bang! The sound of skull shattering was heard. The Peng Demon Emperor's head was completely shattered. It was smashed into smithereens and his soul dispersed. At the moment when the Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan's head was smashed, his eyes were still wide open. All he saw was a pair of eyes that were filled with ruthlessness and extremely frightening. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.